Come on and join the laughter. Let's all just have some fun. Here we are again on the Nathan Show tonight.
Oh, I don't know what this show's about, but Jesus Christ, the hosts are ugly.
I don't like rolling dice or listening to little toy soldiers run around, but goddamn, do I like to see them cry.
I'm just here to watch them spend money and break the bank.
I just like salty tweets and talking without accents. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and I'm joined by my three co-hosts for the Nathan Prescott Show, and that's Nathan Prescott is first. Hey, Nathan, let's go.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. And also James. He's not as much of a weeb as two other people who I know now. Powell.
I'll take it and I'll run with it.
Hey, James, today, Dan, Nathan, this might mean nothing to you, but today I found out about Goblin Slayer. Have you watched it?
No.
Okay. Hey, everyone at home watching right now, all of you. My suggestion from a weeb friend of mine is we all need to watch Goblin Slayer by next week. I'll leave that there. It's an anime, I think.
Okay.
All
right.
So we've got a week.
We've got 1 week. We'll all report back. Please tweet me. Please tweet me your responses. That would be good. And also joined by the man who needs no introduction, but he could give himself a 45-minute one. Dan, unsupervised.
G'day. Lovely to be here. And also just genuinely really lovely to be talking about face-to-face War Dollies again. Because how good is that? You get to see people's noses when you roll dice, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, so good. And mainly going to be the point of today's show. Today's show, we're going to be talking about a small amount of the news, tiny amount of the news, because there isn't tons and tons and tons. And then we're going to just be doing a live Q&A with the chat. We never get to do that with the Monday show. And so I thought at the start of a new edition, I've played a ton of Age of Sigmar now, and I think everyone who is live on the stream right now has. So we might be able to just take your questions, talk through some stuff. I kind of want to talk to you about tournament scoring. I know. Oh my God, so boring, Rob. I get it. But we should talk about it anyway. So that's kind of going to be today's show. I'm just going to say hello to everyone who's joined us live in the chat, because this is live on Twitch. You can watch it back on YouTube if you're a thug, or listen to it as a podcast. So I'm going to say hello to some Norwegian dude. Tristan, what's going on? Percussive Scruff, thanks for subscribing. All of you are great. Leo Maris Wargaming, thanks for resubscribing. All of you are cool dudes and dudettes and whatever else you want to be in the chat. I'm going to go through a kind of counterclockwise motion. James, how was your weekend? And how was your week since we last spoke to you?
I don't know how my week was. I don't know where my week went last week.
Same.
So we'll say week fine. Weekend was really good. Spent most of my Sunday with you. That was pleasant.
We had a great time.
Had to look at your flat bum a little bit, but other than that, it was fine.
Can we talk about this? Because this is James. James put me off. I was playing a very tense game with a guy called Fabian, an incredibly fucking great human being. I had a lovely time. But while I was playing him, and actually when I was playing Will, both times, me and James were back to back, like we've been in many a sauna. And, he said to me, I'll quote, "You've got such a flat arse." And that's rude. You can't say that to another wargamer, James.
Okay, no, but you know what? Can I jump in here and interject? I think that is the highest compliment you can pay someone in a tournament setting. Because what is the bane of everyone when you're playing back-to-back at a tournament?
I don't want to flat
when they're
arse.
fucking sticking their rear peaches into your groin space, and they're constantly bumping you, and then you shunt the table, knock over models. So saying to someone, you have a flat ass, that's the dream.
Listen, I've got working class glutes and working class ass is what I've got. Yeah, I've grafted my whole life for this butt, is what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I have no ass. I'm the same. I go straight from lower back to upper thigh. It makes sitting down on chairs very difficult, but it makes me a dream to be behind you in a tournament setting, because any bumping is intentional, not accidental.
Okay.
Like I'll just be like, "Hey, do you want to boot booties?" And people are often like, "No," and then I'm like, okay, that's really disappointing. And then every now and then you just get a twerk session mid-tournament.
Hey, can we just talk about the fact that Dan asks for consent every time? I respect that, Dan. I respect that. Good work. Go on, James. You were saying.
Yeah, so I had that. So we played 3 games of Warhammer on Sunday. That was pretty good. My list was deceptively average.
Okay.
Because in my head I was a spare player, so I was like, I'll be nice. I won't take a Gotrek. And then I turned up and I was like, there are 4 Gotreks here.
out of 16 people.
Yeah, there are more Gotreks than anywhere ever in the world. So that was good. That was good fun. I don't think I did anything with my Saturday. I painted.
You did.
Painted a lot.
Because you brought some of the new Stormcast. We'll talk about your list in a moment, right? We'll talk about the weekend.
Yeah.
Nathan Prescott, how are you today? The host of the Nathan Prescott Show.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah. What are we talking about? Our hobbies. So
sure.
I've not really built anything. I'm building a Mangler Squig. Loon boss on Mangler Squigs.
Don't you mean Mangler Squigs? Yeah, it's plural, right? Because it's 2 squigs is 1 squig.
Yeah,
Mangler
Squigs.
It's like the old saying, a bird in the hand is worth 2 other birds.
Oh my god, am I getting fucking flashbacks? Is everything in my life finally caught up with me and I can't... Didn't we do Squigs last week? This whole Mangler Squigs gag? Is this a flashback or a throwback?
What are you talking
what's happening?
about?
Like... Okay. Sorry, Nate, you were saying you're building. Why do you think Loonboss and Mangler Squigs the secret tech for how I defeat 2-up unrenderable Nagash?
Unrenderable.
Well,
is he ethereal as well?
Technically unrenderable. Well, not technically unrenderable, but unlikely to rend. Unlikely to love, unlikely to dream, and unlikely to rend. That's all of Nagash's keywords right there.
So what's he on, like a 1-up save, a minus a 0-up save?
He's only on maybe a 2+, +2 or +3 to his save. Like is all I'm gonna say. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
So
building Mangler Squig, and other than that, just had a game against yourself. So that's my hobby. That was on Friday.
What?
Friday?
Why are you building the Loonboss on Mangler Squigs? Gits will want to know. Like the lovely Declan who was here at the weekend. He'll want to know.
Because I've got a Mangler Squigs.
Yep.
A pair of Mangler Squigs.
Yep.
And so sometimes he's a loon boss and sometimes he's not. So I want one that definitely is a loon boss, and then one that's not, and then I can run them together.
Okay.
Because 4 Mangler Squigs is better than 2 Mangler Squigs.
Sorry.
So you're going to have 8 squigs altogether because you're going to have 4 Mangler squigs.
Yeah,
so
no.
8
I've got two pairs. So just 4.
So 2 units or 4 units?
2 units of 4, Rob. 2 units of 4.
2 units of 2.
Wait, 4 units of 2.
6 units of 9?
How many Mangler Squigs do you have? I'm so confused.
I think he's got.
Okay. All right, I'm in. This is why the YouTube comments on the Monday show are always mean. They're like, you fuckers, yeah? Don't try and talk about Warhammer at all. You just try and have fun. How dare you?
How dare
Never
dare you?
It's basically the YouTube comments are basically Anakin in the end when he's got all his limbs chopped off and he's burning. He's just screaming like, "I hate you!" And you're like, "I'd like to help. I hate you!" Like, okay, cool, sweet. I'm gonna go then. If you don't want help,
it's over there because we have the high ground.
Yeah,
that's absolutely true. We do have the high ground.
How dare we? Hey, Twitch chat, love you all. Thanks for being here. So, Nathan, why did you build the Loonboss Mangler Squigs? Just because they're the next thing on your pile, or like you think that they might see some play?
Yes. So I've got the pile. So I've got them, and I've got the Dominion box to build. So.
A couple of follow-up questions, if you don't mind, because I know Nathan Prescott stands will want to know the answer to this. Number 1, the Gargan. We don't know if you ever finished painting the Mega Gargan. What happened with that?
Yeah, I did. I took him to James's garden.
Yeah, he came. One-eyed Grunnock.
He was throwing things around in the garden.
Right, okay.
It was great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I didn't know you'd done that. Okay, that's sweet. I don't think the stream were updated on that. Thanks to Burgermeister Time for resubscribing. Tanner Herbert, what up? Everyone, hello. Okay, good. And then the other follow-up...
Yeah.
Go on, sorry, after you. No,
sorry.
You continue.
Sorry. I was just saying, One-Eyed Grunnock did his thing. I do need to get him out in Age of Sigmar number 3. So maybe on Thursday, or maybe I'll just carry on with what I had, because I didn't play very well, I thought, against you. So I want to give it a bit of another whirl, see how we get on.
I don't think I played very well against you, so equals, if that helps. Equals.
Yeah, well, that's to be expected. So I just want to play better myself.
Same, me too. Me too. It's to be expected is so rude, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, we'll talk about that game in a minute. Dan, how have you been this week? It sounds like you've been hammering, you've been hobbering.
I've been hobbying. I had a moment of terror, which I've done a couple of times before, and I should know better. I was walking, and I had always cover your hobby knife when you're not using it and sitting down at a table, just a safety thing, because it rolled off of my thing as I was carrying it and fell off and like landed sticking up, like point down in the floor right next to my foot. So that was just another lesson. The dangers of hobbying. Sometimes you drink your paint water. Sometimes you almost impale yourself with a hobby knife. So always cover the tip before you maneuver. I think might be before you perform any kind of maneuvers there.
Don't be a fool. Cover your tool. Yeah.
Yep.
Good life lesson.
Some extra armor will never harm you.
There you go. Another good one.
So
yeah.
but other than that, I'm converting up the Stormcast from
before
the Dominion
you slap
box.
it. Make sure you wrap it.
The double entendre doesn't work with that one. If you build your models,
put
by
a condom on your dick
against them.
Did that work? Did that work?
No. No, if that's how you build, that's how you build your models, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks to some Norwegian dude for donating £25 to the show as I shouted, "Put a condom on your dick."
Just really enthusiastic about safety there, just like I cannot say enough how important it is.
Oh wait, I've got a thing for this. Hold on. Thank you very much for doing that, some Norwegian dude, and I'll do this now. You guys can't hear this. I have a button now for a crowd noise. I don't know if it works. I pressed it. I'll see in 13 seconds.
Does
it work?
It worked. Yeah.
Amazing. Can you guys hear it?
No, I just quickly unmuted.
Oh, right.
I hear, I constantly hear a crowd just in every moment of my life, but they're always booing. Is that just me? Do other people have that?
Because you guys can't hear the audio. I might set up a sound deck, and whenever you say something, I might just be like, boo.
The worst bit is all it makes me think of is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But carry on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that road. Dan, sorry, you were talking about your week. You nearly got murdered by a hobby knife.
Oh, I nearly got foot stabbed, but other than that, I'm really enjoying carving up the vigilators, they're guys that come in the box. And I'm going down now the rabbit hole of all of bit sites and 3D printing and things like that for extra bits just to really custom them up. And I'm liking it.
Because kit bashing is the best, right?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Actually, this is a Q&A show, and I have a question on this subject.
Shout out to Velatron for resubscribing. Big love to you, my friend. Go on. What's the question, Dan? So,
could I possibly kick off the Q&A early with a question that, I've been in this hobby a while, and I've had this question, and so this is what I'd like to pitch for our Q&A. Can we have moron immunity?
Yeah.
For myself and anyone in the chat.
That's the entire show today, as if the intro via the Muppets and the penis jokes weren't in any way an indication of. Today is a no criticism zone. If you've got any questions you're not sure about from Age of Sigmar 3 and you've been too scared to ask, today's the day. Dan, go for it.
I'd like to go a little bit back further than Age of Sigmar 3 because mine is entire hobby related, and I've not known the answer to this question since I returned to the hobby some roughly 10 years ago, probably.
I can answer.
And I've been too scared. I'm now at the point where, when you don't know someone's name and it's been too long,
you can already answer.
and you can't ask. The guy to my left on screen, no idea what his name is.
Jimmy.
But
Jimmy
now
the
Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. Yeah. That sounds about right. But yeah. So I don't know the answer, and this is the question, right? And in the chat, I would love it if you jump in if you're like, I also feel the same. Like I have no idea what the answer is to this question, though you probably all do. What's the difference between? And let me finish the whole question. What's the difference between version and a kit bash? And if there is a difference, at what point does it change from a kit bash to a conversion?
Okay,
or are they the same
straight
thing?
to Nathan Prescott. Nathan.
Yes. What's the difference between a conversion and a kit bash?
The difference between a conversion and a kit bash.
And where does the change kick in?
I've got no idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's just words at the end of the day. Just build the thing and then.
Interesting, that's Nathan's advice to actually any question you ask him. You're like, what about this, Nathan? He's like, it's just words, build the thing, and that's why he became a builder. Also, his screen is frozen at this exact moment, so he can't retort. So that's perfect, because I could just dig on him for however it takes for his 4G to come back.
Oh, the chat's actually answering.
Go on then, James. You've got this.
Oh, but the chat's got it. So
James, you can play the role of the hot lady in the sci-fi show who just reads what the computer says. Over to you.
Okay. Don't think it matters, but
I think we need the voice. Hot lady reading the computer in the sci-fi show voice.
Hot lady. Hey Dan.
Oh my god. Yes, it's been so long.
Kit bash. Oh no, I can't do it. The chat's actually pretty good. Kit bash would be just putting different kits together. So a Space Marine and a Death Watch kit. A conversion has some modeling work, cutting, sculpting, changing parts, so they're different. Which I think is probably the two words are interchangeable generally, because I can't see us having a definition. But that one's probably the best answer I can see. But I think everyone's
the best answer I've seen is from Plymouth Troll Slayers. Big shout out to Adam. Warhammer Plus is a kit bash, Warhapedia is a conversion. I think basically what he's saying is more skill to do a conversion. A kit bash is where, and I think Velatron said it, you just put together existing pieces, whereas a conversion, Dan, is where you do more complex stuff requiring green stuff or sculpting. I think is the kind of so you're Dan. I don't want to. I'll try and do this on screen. I sometimes wish we'd drawn pictures, but imagine you've got one kit and then another kit, and then you bash them together.
Yeah.
Kit bash, conversion.
Gotcha. Copy.
Someone else.
Okay, so the just to see so that we can officially kind of put a pin in this and wrap it up. A kit bash is, and like legitimately also it's good. I feel really happy to finally have an answer to this question. A kit bash would be like, I took the head from this kit and the head from this kit and I put this head over here. Yes. A conversion would be, I took the head from that kit, I had to whittle down and like carve out more room in the head space to put it in. Maybe I built something back up with green stuff. I modified the pieces in the kits to make them go together, whereas a kit bash requires very little modification, maybe just like cutting the sword off the end and putting it on the top of a spear.
Yeah.
Does that feel right?
Yeah. A conversion would be like cutting off Rob's beard and sticking it onto Nagash so he had a throw.
He kind of looks like he's got a 70s like flat top, doesn't he? Like,
yeah,
if you sculpted it right, yeah, that would be
1980s Nagash. You could give him a little.
Yeah, that would be so like he's in Kid and Play. Yeah, and he's just ready to just bust some tunes. I'm into that. Nathan, are you back or?
I don't know. Is it working?
Well, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, perfect. Yeah, he's back. All right, thanks, Dan. Dan, did that answer your question?
That actually genuinely really, really did. Thank you, chat and everyone. I have been too scared to ask that question. And without the dome of what the dome of peace? I don't know, whatever it is that sits over us today, and says you can ask the dumb questions. That dome made me feel safe, and now I know my
There
answer.
we go. Well, I'm super glad about that. Owen said in the chat, shout out to Ricky Smith's new Kitbash venture, bringing together lovers of conversions with some streams and competitions plans, says Owen Jackson. I take part, but Ricky Smith has blocked me? I don't know what I did. Like, it could have been one of, and I'm being serious here, dozens of things. So that's fine. Like, I wasn't upset. I was like, oh, sad face. I'll just stalk you from my other account. That's right, Hazelberry. That's my other account. I make so much money on that account. It's so good. Right. So we've asked how everyone is. Is that what we've done?
Yeah.
Nathan, can I ask you about your game you played this week? Because you played a game of Warhammer, and I'd like to hear some Warhammer news, please.
I played against 1,500 pink horrors.
Okay.
What kind of a dickhead would take
It was
that?
50 pink horrors, actually.
know.
So shut your mouth. 50.
And yeah, 50 pink horrors, so 1,500 horrors. And I took some trolls and some spiders and some squeaks. And I had a great time running around, killing some pink horrors, not killing some other ones, and killing some blue ones. And yeah, I think that's all I killed was just a few horrors here and there. And I lost my trolls and my spider. But 5 spider riders are the best, and that's all I have to say about that. And yeah, it was good. Good game. But I don't know. I guess with that was the what was it called? Tooth and Nail. Yeah. So basically, at the beginning of the game, you said you wanted to play that one because you thought that the priority roll into turn 3 was super strong, basically, and whoever won that priority roll pretty much wins the game.
Yes.
And I think even in that case, if I had won the priority roll, I would have had a much stronger chance at winning the game, even though I was playing with the fearsome spider riders. So yeah, I do think that turn 3 priority is super strong.
I would agree with that. I think there's a big takeaway from that, and because of that, you have to be conscious of that from your initial get-go on the playstyle, right? So just for everyone to be aware, really quick, if you're playing, let's say, a battle plan where it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more, if you both were kind of holding 1, and then your opponent, and then let's say you're both contesting in the middle, so sometimes it's a little bit all over the place. Basically, if they win the prio, give you the turn, then take your objective away. You know how you're always camped on 1 safe? You're like, this is mine, I've got this. Well, in that situation, like, they might get hold 2 and hold more, which is a 2-point swing. So over the course of the game, it's going to be a 6-point victory point swing from 3 to 5. Which is pretty significant, which is the same as 2. And then if they also do their battle tactics on top, so you're really going to be down 6 points at the end of the game, which I think is interesting. But then to flip that around, Nath and James and Dan, because I know you've both played, one of the things that I'm finding quite interesting now is, it was fairly common practice if your opponent couldn't smash you up on the first turn, would be to give the first turn away. It's fairly common, right? Nathan, you always played loads of high drops. I imagine you often were given the turn.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I reckon I played first 80%, maybe 90% of the time.
Yeah. But
in Age of Sigmar.
But there's a good reason not to do that now, or an advantage to being given the turn, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. Oh well, usually if you're given the first turn, you have an opportunity to score so if it's the modern point scoring thing where you hold 1 for holding 1, you get a point for holding 1, another point for holding 2, and then an extra point for holding 3.
Mm-hmm.
So first turn, you've got a great chance of scoring that all the time, but you also have the ability to sometimes block your opponent out, which is what I managed to do in Tooth and Nail. So I can go on to 2 and then screen out the third one. So So at the end of my turn, I've scored 2. You still only controlling the one in your territory. So I score 3 points off of the primary scoring system, and then come to your turn, you've got to try and blast past my screen just to get 2 points. Now, if my screen is effective enough, as I think it was in our game, I was able to screen you off for that first turn. So you're only scoring 1 point off of
100%.
that first set of primary scoring points. So that's super strong. You can score a heavy thing at the beginning. So it's great. And then in the ones where you've got the 3 objectives across the center line, if you just put your army and just go for it and just take 2 points, which are close together, you can do exactly the same thing. So yeah, first turn, I think if people give me first turn, I'm not unhappy at all, generally. Yeah.
Agreed. And like Velatron saying in the chat, the player starting first not only can score more points in turn 1, but statistically has more chances of winning turn 3 and choosing who goes second, which is pretty interesting, actually. I think that they've done a super good job. I don't think the first turn thing was by intent, but actually you can do some really fun stuff, like you say, with the granularity one. James, you played a bit of the weekend, I'm not asking about all those games in essence right now, but did you find that was a thing that you did? Was that part of your?
Yeah, I think like that first turn, especially on lots of the new score 1, score 2, score 3. You start probably, I'd say, I don't know, what is it, like 9 inches away from an objective.
Yep.
So I think for me, like, it's playing Stormcast all weekend, who are not fast, but having that chance to go first basically means you can be like, I haven't got to make any other decision. There's nothing I'm going to charge. There's nothing I'm going to get to. I can literally start 9 away, know I'm probably getting given a turn, and walk forward.
Yeah.
And I think in my last game, my opponent, John, even said, like, at the end of giving me the turn and me playing it out, he was like, I should have just taken that because we've both put in 5 models on. And I could have made you have to take me off. And
we're like, I would like to think that we're not the driest human beings in the world, which is good. That means that our chat are like the best people ever, and actually super supportive of that. Like, they're all brilliant human beings. Right, let's see if we can get that. Tell them we're back on.
Also, very, very attractive. Like compared to other Twitch chats, I would say this one level of attractiveness is significantly higher just because
I don't want to say that I'd go to war for my Twitch chat or our Twitch chat, but I also wouldn't not, if that makes sense. So I would, is what I'm saying.
Are you objectifying?
No, I'm saying that they're perfect.
No,
can I?
Also, the podcast guys. The podcast guys are so hot, and the podcast ladies, obviously. But respectfully so.
But Team Podcast, the thing is, they're just well hydrated, so like they probably have the most highly functioning bladders of any of the chats. I would say
glowing. The podcast people are walking through life. They're like, you look so hydrated. Like your skin. Your skin is phenomenal. Yeah. They're like,
it's plump. Yeah, they're those folk that are just like, you go, you have a chat to them, and they're like, I'm just going to pop into the bathroom. You're like, awesome. And then they come back out, and then like 5 minutes later, they're like, I'm going to pop into the bathroom again. But you don't get like a shy bladder vibe from them. It's more like their body is just so powerful at cleansing toxins that no matter how much badness they put in, the amount of hydration they also receive, it just keeps them regular,
I do, Dan. I do, and I love the journey we went on there. Thank you so much. James, tell me about your games from the weekend, please. You played Age of Sigmar this weekend. You played 3 games.
I'm just so concerned that you've all talked about fancying the Twitch chat, which means that you fancy the 12-year-old that is Adam Mumford.
He is an adult, and I'll have you know, he's able to handle adult conversations. And if you say something to him like, you're not adult enough for this conversation, then maybe you shouldn't be talking to him. That's what I think. Right, so come on, James. So you played Age of Sigmar this weekend. You played 3 games of a tournament. Most people haven't done that in the world yet. due to lockdowns or other things.
That's
So
true.
talk to me. What list did you take? How did it go? Let's learn some stuff.
So I took a janky.
Why was it
Stormcast
janky?
list. Well, it wasn't janky. I just think so. I took basically all new models. So I did it to myself because I wanted to play with new
good.
toys. So it was lots of lots of new toys with a couple of old toys because that's where my painting had got to. So 3 of the new battle line, which is Vindicators.
Yes, Vindictors. Is that right?
Vindictors.
Wait, hold on.
That's the
No,
one.
that's not guaranteed to be
so-
right. Is it Vindictors or Vindicators? Dan, are you not building
Someone
them right
must know.
now?
I
What are they
I
called?
am, but I mean, I don't learn what
Come on.
things are called. Where's the book? I'll
Vindictors.
find
But you're
the book.
building them
Vindictors
without
on
the
Stardust.
instructions. What fucking lunacy is this?
Vin Diesel.
Vin
They're Vin Diesels.
Vin Diesels.
They're Vin
This-
Diesels.
Sigmar, this
They're
is
all
perfect.
about
This is
family.
all I want out of my life. Sigmar in front of his hordes of Stormcast, and they're like, "We will reconquer the mortal realms." And they'll be like, "But Sigmar, we're arrayed against us with a force of chaos and destruction and death. How will we do it?" And he turns to them and he says, "There's nothing stronger than family."
And then, like, the weird thing is, like, there's Stormcasts that are making out, and they're like, wait, are we... Like, when you say family, you don't mean blood, right? Like, you mean, like, we're connected as one in this mission, not we're physically connected as one, like a Texan wedding.
I'm in. I'm in the whole way. I want them to open
yeah.
the Fast and Furious chamber. That's what the best. That's what the Dragon Riders best be called. Yeah, the whole time.
And also for the record, I did look at the things, but I'm not the instructions, but I'm not using them because I'm changing them.
Because
So
that guy's ID, core battalion, family. That's my core battalion.
Amazing. I'd like someone, if anyone that's watching the chat or watches on YouTube or listens to the podcast is a good 3D sculptor, if you can make a 3D printable Vin Diesel head, I will give one whole squad of Vindictors Vin Diesel heads.
No. You need to put Yanastra needs Vin Diesel's head, and then
Vin
the
Diesel.
Praetors need the other ones. And every time you heal one back, you need to be like, "There's nothing better than family," and you bring one back every time. Vinyastra! Diadrin's got it, Vinyastra! Oh, I'm so into this. Hey, big shout out to Bro to Pro in the chat. Fabian, one of my opponents yesterday. What a wonderful human being. I laughed. You know when you play a tactical game that's brilliant, but also you laugh your whole way through it? So Nathan, like none of the games you and me have ever played. It's just...
No tactics.
Just laughter. Go on. Sorry, James, you were talking about family. Please continue. Sorry.
Family, super important. No, so I played 3 games. I played a Stormcast list, so it was 3 of the new battle line Vindictors, a Lord Imperator, the new Wizard, who I think is a Knight Arcanum, the Annihilators, Indrasna, 3 Praetors, and then basically filler. So there was a Celestin Prime, a Lord. Not an Arcanum, the wizard that can blow itself up as well. That one.
Incantor.
That's it.
Knight
Incantor.
Yeah.
What else was in there? I think that was it. And then I basically took the 2 Stormcast Endless spells that you've never seen before. The Whirlwind of Hammers and the Dice.
What do they do now?
So on paper, I thought the hammers were really good. So they're a 65.
That was past tense, though, James. So I'm concerned for what the reality is.
Yeah, so I'll come to that. So it's a 65mm base. It moves. I think it's about 12 inches. So the
Not 65.
65mm base. That's what it's on. Moves about 12 inches, and any models one unit it passes over, you pick. You roll 12 dice, and every 6 is a mortal wound. But it also makes any shooting that's by it that isn't Stormcast -1 to hit.
Oh.
But it's 30 points.
Okay.
Is it wholly within the anti-shooting range, or just
I
within?
don't know actually off the top of my head because I didn't have one person I played with shooting, so that was a bit of a nightmare. But I also took the Deus Arcanum, which is great. I actually could see myself putting it in almost every Stormcast list.
Really?
So it's a mini Bellwind Vortex basically, but has some positives. So it's a 40 or 50 mil base off the top of my head. It's a tiny little platform. I'm sure people have probably seen it at least before. I only have ever played one once previously. But basically, you cast it from a wizard. I think it casts on about a 6. You pop your wizard on it. They can't be mounted. They can't be over a certain amount of wounds. So it basically fits a standard 40 mil base Stormcast. It makes them -1 to hit from combat and shooting.
Good start.
It makes them fly and move 12 inches, which is pretty good in its own right. And it gives them an extra unbind. So it doesn't give an extra cast, but it gives an extra unbind. So what it allows you to do is have like a 12-inch move in, fly in, Stormcast wizard, extra unbind, -1 to hit, and it's 30 points again.
Quick, real question. He's definitely sounds fast, but is he doing damage output? Would you describe him as furious or?
He is. He could be furious. The old wizards are better at fighting than the new wizards, though, which is dumb.
No, it's right. It's the way it should be. None of this bullshit like, oh yes, he's a wizard and a man of the cloth, but don't get him into combat because he's as deadly as anything. No, wizards should be at the back like, I deal in spells, not this peasant combat.
I don't think priests are the same as wizards, Stan. Are you conflating religion with magic? Because that's a rocky road I'm taking you down.
Also, no, all I'm saying is, like, if he's a wizard and he can summon this dais and he can float around, the fact that so often wizards in Warhammer are described as being no slouches in combat, literally the phrase, no slouch in combat. Open up a fucking thesaurus community page and change slouches in combat to literally any other phrase. But they always say that they're amazing in combat, blah, blah, blah. No! If you had the power of the eternal, like the immeasurable magic in the world, as if you'd be like, hey, you know what I'm going to learn today? What? How to hit stuff with a stick? No, fuck off. You're going to be like, I'm going to learn how to set more people's faces on fire.
So do you know what Dan has obviously never done? Used a Stormcast wizard because their casting is shit.
Hey, also, follow up. Glutos or Scullion, weirdly, is no slouch in combat. However, ironically, slouching while in combat on the dais. It's an odd. Yeah.
Constantly slouching. Just his whole jam is that he's about slouching.
He loves slouching, so that's a weird one. I won't say that at all. Right. Anyway,
he's the one. I'll give him the excuse. He can slouch. The rest of them can pull your socks up.
So James, who did you play and how did it go?
Oh no! So I played Matt and his Sylvaneth.
Matt Mallow.
Yeah. I think
he's not really like the Sylvaneth player though. Like he's just the only guy that's genuinely been playing them in competitive tournaments for like a year and a half. But not who I'd speak to about Sylvaneth. I'm doing that tomorrow. On the faction reaction.
Yeah,
he's the man. He loves Sylvaneth. Do you know what he does at the end of 9 hours of playing Age of Sigmar with Sylvaneth? Do you know what he does? Talks to you more about playing Sylvaneth. Like, more. For like, you're like, how long? Much more. Till you go to sleep. Till you're like, night, Matt. And he's like, good night. Also, I still reckon the Tree Song Revenant could have legs, but I'm not sure still. You're like, cheers, Matt. Night. Sorry, James. Carry on.
And then does he dream about Sylvaneth and talk Sylvaneth in his sleep?
On TikTok. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds about right. So I played him. Played some Sylvaneth. Trees everywhere. Didn't realise that you now just can put down like a bit of the new trees.
Yes, you can.
And then they're just teleports now. But the mechanic's nicer because you can actually walk around them and they look nice on the board rather than just being those hideous things of days gone by. Sorry for anyone that still owns them.
Only 9
So yeah, we
bases.
played a good game.
Don't worry.
He pushed me into a corner really, and kind of like he had an Alariel, and I'd not taken Gotrek because I was playing nice. And then Alariel stood in the middle, and I was like, I don't have any damage for this. And any damage I did, she heals 2d6 a turn now, doesn't she? Whereas after the end of the game, I was like, oh, if I'd have just brought a Gotrek, I'd have just walked him there and stood there for the whole 5 turns. But yeah, so we had a laugh. I dropped like a Celestant Prime because he forgot to screen. One-shotted his new Horn character. That was quite good fun. But yeah, so it was a good laugh. We had a nice time.
Good.
He beat me. That was good. Then my second game.
Thanks, Bro to
So
Pro,
bad
for
with
subscribing. Big love to you. Appreciate that. Massive love. Carry on.
Family's important. Welcome to the family. It's going to be my new line.
Welcome to the family.
Family means everything. Please carry on, James.
So my second game. Who did I play second? It's so hard to remember, and I only played 3 games.
You played
I
John
don't know how
Dale
I ever remember
third.
5. Yeah, I played John Dale third. So my second game. Who did I play? What army did I play second? I didn't move table. That makes it even harder for me.
You played John Keatley with his Uruks.
Yes, horrendous. Like, very lovely man. Haven't seen brutes in about 3 years, and so I was like, oh, I don't know if I've got enough damage to kill all of this, but fine. So and then they just all ran at me, and it was a massacre.
Oh really? You got massacred again?
Yeah, I got massacred in every game, I think. Apart from against John Dale, which was great. So he threw everything forward, and my dice were terrible all day. Like, I think in that game,
No Johns. You can't do that, James. No Johns.
John.
You can't complain about dice. That's a no John rule. We're doing a no complaining about dice forever rule now.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I don't care. But like, my dice weren't great, to the point where he was just like, oh, you were saving on 3s and you've rolled 9 2s. Oh, like, for me. And I was like, it's okay. Like, I'll just take my toys off. Now, and I keep forgetting rules because they're new. So I forgot to blow stuff up. And then when I did remember to blow stuff up, like, forgot to roll well. But yeah, it was good. They came forward. They hit me hard.
Easy one to forget that.
Yeah. There was an interesting point where, so in that game, I've been playing Yndrasna, and she's just tanky as hell. So I was like, I don't think I can win this. So instead of winning this, I'll play a sub game.
Oh, interesting.
I'll put her in the middle of the board. I'll let those 10 brutes come at her, and we'll see how long she lasts.
And how did she do?
She
killed
them.
10 brutes on her own.
No, she had some backup. So it was her and her guard, and a bit of shooting from the turns. But I mean, most of the shooting is hers, her family. But she just 10 brutes went in. I think there was 17 save rolls. I rolled quite well on that and made several. I think 18 wounds went through, and at the end, one guard took 2 and she took 1, I think.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit.
And then she hit them back and killed several. Then a couple ran away. Then it was another 10. So she basically tanked all of them, and in the end, the last one legged it. And then a Maw Crusher charger I rolled not so well, and she fell apart. But it was like, she was amazing to watch, just like tank everything, like super good.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it was super good fun. Like, it was super good fun to play that game. The Prime in the first game killed 1 hero. In that game, landed, didn't do a lot, got charged by a Maw Crusher, died. He was very useless. And then my last game was against John Dale, and that was the funniest game. So yeah, so for the first time ever, I took Hammers of Sigmar because someone asked for my list submission at like 11 o'clock at night. And so I just grabbed anything, and I was like, right, Hammers of Sigmar, what does that do now? Oh, I can roll a 5 or 5 for unit dice. I'll bring it back. So John Dale had the full experience of me bringing back 2 units from that, I believe. And the best was he threw his salamanders across
Yeah.
the board, shot the unit, shot something, killed a bit, didn't do much. Charged the salamanders into a unit of Vindictors, killed them all to the last. They then blew up, killed all of the skinks on the salamanders, and then he realized he'd put no heroes by them, so the salamanders ran away.
Ah.
Wow.
And then I rolled the 5 up, and the people came back anyway. And that was a great moment of Warhammer. So there was some really good bits in that game, and like I think I was up against it from the start because it was like 2 salamanders, a slan, 5 Saurus Knights, 5 Saurus Knights, 5 Saurus Knights, and like a Carnosaur that he was buffing to like an inch of its life. But like, oh,
Give it
and a
good
Gotrek.
buff.
And a Gotrek just walking at my army, and I was like, "Don't have any damage output for that. This is definitely gonna die." And so, but it was quite interesting. So he kind of walked at my army. Some of my army walked away. Some was sacrificed to him, and Yggdrasna just basically walked around the board, tanking everything. Tank the Carnosaur, tank some knights. She's
Amazing.
great. Really
So,
great.
okay,
Love it.
given that you took her and the Prime, and
Yeah.
you've had a bit of experience with that, who did, like, their points are similar-ish.
Yep.
Who got more? Who would you take? Like, if you could only add one to
Her
the
every
list,
day of the week.
really, over the Prime.
I think the Prime, and I know loads of people will argue because his shooting is decent, but the Prime's garbage currently. Like, he's just not worth. I think at the minute, and I'm gonna say this because it was a choice I made myself because I wrote the list. But like, the Prime is 325 points.
Okay.
Gotrek is 435
Yes.
points. For 110 points, I can take someone that can basically remove an army, and the Prime can do some pop shots. However, if anyone blows on him, he is dead.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think like he doesn't bring anything to the army that you couldn't take for a similar amount of points, because he's got to stay off the board to have 5 attacks, so he's not there turn 1 to shoot. He has a shooting attack which is okay, but if they have high move models, it's not going to do a huge amount, or if they have a huge horde, it's not going to do a huge amount of damage. In combat, he's 3s, 2s, -3 damage, which is okay, but that's his only attack. And then he doesn't really do anything else.
Okay.
Whereas Yggdrasna, 300 points. If we want to do the old school, I'm a Seraphon player, it costs a lot of points for me to take Croak. Let me add it all up for you. You also add the 155 points for the Praetors. So she becomes almost unmovable unless they remove the Praetors and then her. She's a 3-up save with a 4-up DPR. She stops any Stormcast wholly within 12 battle shocking at all. Each time your hero phase ticks, she brings back a unit. Her shooting attack, although the damage is different, is 2s, -2 D6 damage and shoots like 18 inches. She moves faster, her base is smaller, and she can tank 10 brutes for 3 rounds of combat or whatever it was. I don't think... Yeah, for me, I just don't think there's a debate. Like, she adds loads to the army. She looks great. She has the lesser weapon from Sigmar's arsenal, but still is better. Love her. I honestly think she's great. I don't know whether, like, when we see the Stormcast book, I think there'll be a lot of changes. If they actually give me a 2-cast wizard and the ability to actually get anything better than +1 in an entire fucking game, that would be lovely. But I think, like, as it stands currently, she just adds so much to the army. And if they gave the Prime similar rules to her, I think, however, made him super hitty, so he doesn't need to buff any units, but just is super hitty, then he'd be useful. But at the minute, he is averagely hitty and dies like garbage.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks, Corridorn, for resubscribing. Massive love to you. He says, having my first game of AOS on Sunday, I hope Techlist fits the God model better and is not like Ilariel. Techlist should be fine. Truthfully. Fascinating, James. So, like, is there anything you changed from your list, or like you're just waiting for the new book, right? I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have taken the Prime out. Do you know what? 100%. I'd take the Prime out and I'd taken more Vindictors, whatever we said they were called.
Vin
Because
Diesels.
Vin Diesels, because family's important, and my 3 sets of them, which are about the same points, did 10 times more work than the Prime.
And also Gotrek isn't like part of the family. He's he's more of a Hobbs and Shaw situation, which is.
He's the person we phone when a car needs repairing, but we don't have the
That's
parts.
it. Big shout out to Stabgrot in the chat. He says, I can't get Game of Airs 3. I want to stab someone. Well, Stabgrot, you probably love stabbing things, so appreciate you loads.
Yeah, wait, can I just need to check, though. Does stabbing make you happy, Stabgrot? Like, is that, like, if that's how you... like, if you define yourself as a Stabgrot, surely that means that your happy place is stabbing, because that's how you've chosen to define yourself. So does this mean you're happy about your inability to get in a game of AOS 3 and you're stabbing in joy? Or do you define yourself about what brings you rage? And that's why you're finding yourself full of this misbegotten desire to stab because of your lack of games.
Yes, don't be afraid of trying stabbing. Just be afraid of liking stabbing. Okay, thanks, Stabgrot. Appreciate you. That's how you fall. All right. Overall, you had a great day, James, or not a great day. You were part of. You're part of a team, right? Meg's
I was part of a team.
Meg's fellas. And how did your team do?
The most sporting team.
The most sporting team. Best sports, baby. Best trophy allowed. It's not a trophy, though. It's a free ticket to the next event. So happy we won that because it's bleeding us money. Everyone tells me it's a stupid idea to do that as a prize. So happy we were trying my hardest.
What I would love to know is Matt just to come on into the chat now and be like, Rob, you didn't.
I got two. I got two apparently. I got two. Yeah. So I'm really chuffed with that because let me talk about my list if that's okay. Over the weekend, I played a tournament of Age of Sigmar as well with James. We're in the same team. Nathan, Dan, and James, feel free to jump in with any questions you may have about my list. Twitch chat, same question, or about my games. I played with Kairos, Fate Weaver, or as I like to call him, Win Weaver. He's the best. The Windcaster, that's the Changecaster. Bam, 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 bam. I was playing an Eternal Conflagration, which meant, most importantly, that all of my pink horror shooting got rend of 1 for magic hands. And then my pinkies, that's right, I had a block of 30 pinkies and 2 10 pinkies. I didn't have any stinkies. They were great. That's a good joke. Some would say, I wouldn't. So yeah, but 30 pinkies, 2 10 pinkies, Changecast, and I had a Fate Master. And Fate Master's got a command ability that allows you to re-roll hits in an aura of wholly within 9 inches. So my 30 shots coming out of my 2 10 pink horrors, so 30 shots each, so 60 in total, or my 90 shots coming out of my brick of 30 pink horrors have rend 1 re-rolling to hit. They obviously can give themselves +1 to hit from their War Scroll spell as well, so you'll be hitting on 4s, re-rolling, wounding on 4s, rend 1, damage 1. And let me tell you, I am fucking knackered. That is so many dice to roll. I'm exhausted from rolling dice. Like, I would just maybe have a couple of turns where I'd go for it, and then I'd be like, listen, this is it now. This is fine. You can carry on. So yeah, fun time. So I had a bit of a plan with the army based on last week, because last week I played a tournament as well, and I took the Flamers. So I took the Flamers out of the list. I switched up my different coven, which I'm going to switch up again. I've already got a different list in mind, but I'll talk about that at the end. So I switched on my coven because I needed rend. Last week I kind of complained I didn't really have the output from the Tzeentch list. I need to do some damage. So I thought, do you know what? 90 shots, hitting on 4s, re-rolling, wounding on 4s, rend 1 every shooting phase is going to be like pretty decent. And it was. Like, it was pretty decent. It does a lot of output. Unless you're playing 2-up armor saves that reroll 1s, then it's not as strong, is what I'm going to say. But I want you to know I faced my first opponent, Mark Brooks. What a lovely fella, part of Team Wales for the WTC, ETC, AOS Worlds. Fuck knows what they call it anymore. Hey, Lofthammer, the Pink Rook. Can I name it the Pink Rook? .tm. Is that okay? Can I claim a name, co-hosts? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what to do.
It needs more shots.
I kind of agree, but we'll talk about that at the end,
James.
James. So, but like 230s never die ever in 1,000 years. Maybe because you can battleshot one. But so that was kind of the list, and the idea is get up on two objectives, and then just whenever anyone hit you, just shoot them in combat. Just like a bit of a Rorschach moment. You know, when he's like, you're not trapped in here with me. No, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Like, that's basically just like you slam into them and you're like, cool, I've done 40 damage. And you're like, baby, you're not even a third of the way through this unit yet. Let's go. Yeah, when you tell people that.
I spent 2 games stood behind you, and my favourite was that someone would be like, what have I even done? And I'd be going, no, it's really good. It's really good. You did 28 wounds. Kill most things. You're an eighth of the way there.
So the 30 pink horrors have got 150 wounds effectively if you play that way, and so
it's basically a pink horror bukkake
it's so
party
good,
for your
man.
opponent.
It's like a hot tub stream full of moronic demons, and it's so fun. Like, it's horrific to play as well. Like, it's horrendous work. You got to roll so many dice, and like over 2 shooting phases, I was like, I'm super done. But the important point is, so Kench in the chat is saying pink horrors are horrendous, they need to get binned. So I don't agree with that at all. So one of the interesting things about it is that 645 point unit, yeah, it's practically immortal, but it does fucking nothing. Like, it does nothing. You're rolling your heart out. You're like, yes, okay, okay, reroll these. Okay, reroll these. And they're like, okay, you've done 20 damage. They're like, right, I've got a 2-up save. And you slowly slink back into your chair, having rolled all your dice. And they're like, and I'm re-rolling ones, and you're like, oh my god.
Didn't you do 45 save rolls to Archeon and he took a wound?
3 wounds. Also, Fabian,
3 wounds.
fuck you if you're listening. That's really important. Yeah. So I'll go through my games. I played Mark Meermouse first. So one of the things I wanted to do this weekend was I wanted to pair myself into, because I did the pairings, I wanted to pair myself into the toughest matchups that I could think of for my list out of my opponent's like offerings, basically, is where I kind of went in.
So it sounds like they were coming to you and being like, my lord, I present the offering of my army for thine pleasure. And you were like, yes, I choose this one to face me in mortal combat. Like that, it sounds, I like it.
Yeah. And I really wanted to try out the scoring system, which I'll talk more about later, basically. We'll talk about after this, because obviously for team formats especially, but also for singles formats, I'd like to talk about the scoring system. I'll show it in the screen in a bit when we get to it. And I wanted to kind of understand what happens when you know you should lose. Can you still enjoy yourself? Do you know what I mean? Basically. So I played Mark Meermouse first. He had his Kotet, so Slaves to Darkness army, Knights to the Empty Throne. There's a couple of really key abilities in that unit, in that army, which change stuff up. Number one, he's got a command ability called Unmatched Conquerors, and you can reduce how many wounds a unit is worth, or how many bodies a unit is worth in a unit. And obviously my big pink horror blocks are designed to hold objectives quite well. He could shut that down. That's great. Number 2, he's also got 2-up armor saves across it. Well, he's got 3-up base, but he can turn them into 2-ups, and he's Mark of Tzeentch, so he gets to re-roll 1s. So that sucks, is all I'm going to say. He's also got a 5-up spell ignore on the Varangard, which were his general, a big brick of 6. And then he also has another 5-up spell ignore because of their Mark Tzeentch. So a 5-up spell ignore, and I'm pretty good at doing spells and doing damage that way, so that was pretty bad for me as well. And then he's also got Be'lakor, who can shut down a unit, and he shut down Kairos for a turn. So like all those elements were pretty negative, like for me to play against. What I was trying to do, Varangard General. So playerification, if you buy the Slaves to Darkness book, one of the sub-factions is called the Knights of the Empty Throne. So effectively Archeon's not there anymore, and they get to be leaders. So you can take units of Varangard as leaders, and you can have a unit of up to 6 Varangard as leaders. Normally the items they take are something called the command traits Inescapable Doom. You can't retreat from them, which is such a good ability. And also they've got the plate of they've got Inescapable Doom and the Grasping Plate. The Grasping Plate is what you do. And that's a good pile in from 6 inches. So if you're within 6 inches, you can pile in. Desert Sketch, thanks for resubscribing. Also, I hope you're super well. I'm not sure if you've been able to go back to work yet, but I hope you're doing really good. So he had that. He also had another unit of 3 Vanguard. Anyway, I did a cheeky little move turn 1, put my pinks out. He moved up the correct amount. Then I redeployed outside of his 6-inch pile-in after he ran, because you can run the Vanguard and then pile in the 6 inches. And then I got out of deployment. I was like, I'm a fucking legend here. This is great. But then I realised later that was a terrible idea, because then when he got the priority roll, then he slammed into my pink horrors. I was fighting not on the objective and just in front of the objective. And if I'd have just stayed, but then there's kind of like a swing left and right where he would have had another turn of activating into my pink horrors, but he still didn't kill them over the course of I don't even know, a long time, basically. But then, the real issue is I had to fire all my shots in my next turn, whenever that was. I had to fire all my shots into his 2-up armor save, re-rolling 1's Vanguard. And then I did eventually kill 2, maybe, but it felt like catching rain. I don't know, it was such fucking hard work. He was such a shit ingredient on his face, because Mark's lovely. I had such a great game with him, and he was just so that's a 2-up, rerolling 1s, and I'm sweating, dripping. Yeah, worked so hard. Anyway. So that was really fun, and it wasn't too bad, actually. He won, I think he won 15-5. He Bellacored Kairos, and on the double, that was really bad as well. I tried to make a few cheeky plays. Kairos survived his Vanguard charge, which was really nice. So 3 Vanguard charged in, piled in, attacked twice, and I managed to survive that. So that was really good. That denied him a battle tactic. So that's one of the things he was struggling with a little bit, was the battle tactics in the right place, because my list doesn't give up kill battle line particularly easy, which is...
or at all.
Well, it does sometimes. You can get it sometimes.
You've got to pick it at the right specific moment, though.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you also have to commit pretty much your entire army, the entire game, to taking your battle line.
Well,
off.
no, the 30,
Well, taking
yes,
10's
but the
not
10,
too
the
bad.
10s aren't too bad unless I rally them, but that's a different convo. But yeah, and I normally played them unsupported, and 10 pinks unsupported do nothing. Me and Nathan played the day before, and my 10 pink horrors were losing to his 5 spider riders over the course of 3 turns. They were losing, weren't they?
Yeah, it was great. I was like, how's this happening? These spider riders, they're having a great time.
Yeah, it annoyed the shit out of me, if I'm 100% honest. But yeah, but anyway, a great game against Mark, and I lost that matchup, but I managed to get 5 points. And in a team format, that's really nice. So what I mean by that is the points difference between mine and Mark's score. So our victory points in game meant that he won the match 100%, but in a team format, you do it out of 20-0, and I managed to get 5 points for my team, which isn't bad at all. I was really happy with that. Actually, I think it was the highest score our team got that round, but whatever. Meg's fellas were trying our hardest. Declan particularly was smashing it out on his first game, 1, 2, and 3 games of Age of Sigmar during the tournament. He was on fire.
And playing Cord.
Yeah, playing Cord. He was so good. He was like, what will you do against some bloodletters I have? A couple of blood reavers.
And you're like, literally whatever I want. just I realized your question was meant to be a threat, and the answer is I don't know, wait for a strong summer breeze to bring some pollen that they're going to be allergic to and die.
Yeah, it was really good. But I didn't lose the pink horrors, which was cool. The 30, I don't think you ever need a 30, but the important point is I couldn't go through the armor saves at all of that army. I don't think I played particularly well either, but so I was pinned in pretty progressively. Like I say, that redeploy, while it seemed really clever when I did it, actually, if I hadn't have done it, I would have been in a position where I would have been scoring probably 2 extra points per turn, because I held 1. And then I would have held 2 and held more. So I would have got. So I actually a redeploy early cost me not the game, but definitely points later on. So it could have been a lot closer than 15-5. It could have been something more like a 12-8 or something. So that was a bit of a mistake on my part. So interesting one there. My second game was against Will. So I paired myself into KO, specifically because my list is pretty bad if you kill any of the characters. Like if you kill Kairos, that's pretty bad news for me. If you kill the Fate Master, I lose all of my rerolls. If you kill the Changeling, you make me sad. Not the Changeling, sorry, the Changecaster, you make me sad because he just loves casting spells and he fucking makes me laugh my ass off every time he rolls a 9. Sometimes I would cast spells that were only cast on like a 5 or a 6, but I wouldn't roll a 9, and then I would be like, oh, it's not cast. And they were like, you said it was cast on a 5. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, it's just I expect him to only roll 9s. Like anything that's not a 9. Because he gets to every time he casts a spell on a 9, he can cast another spell. So, and I talked about this last week, so you can have a great time with that. So fun. If you guys want to go out there and do something, you could do. Yeah, I'm addicted to the Changecaster. Addicted. It's so good. But then, so I played against Will, and Will should have killed all my characters early. And he also had Gotrek, so he had KO with Gotrek. And he should have just shot my characters, and I wouldn't be able to inspire and presence the lads, the pink horrors. But I was lucky that he decided to start picking at some of the other units early. And maybe I zoned him out a little bit so he couldn't necessarily bring all of his guns to bear, which was quite cool. And then Gotrek ran in. I redeployed away from Gotrek, and then Gotrek spent like 3 turns smashing up some horrors, waiting until we got down to blue horrors, and then I retreated them out, got the turn, and then I fired all of my re-rolling to hit horror shots at him. Dan, I did 21 wounds to Gotrek. 21. In one shooting phase. He saved everyone.
And then he
saved everyone.
I was about to say 3s and 4s. How many went through?
None of them. He saved all of them. It was 4s and 3s, and he saved them all. It's fucking heartbreaking, is what I'm going to tell you.
Good.
It was good. However, then the next turn, some other turn, I don't remember when, he charged me again or something, but I reduced him down to 2 wounds, and on the charge,
No.
I don't know if you read the Warhammer community articles. That's right, I unleashed hell.
Oh man, that's a great piece of tech. Where did you get that from?
It was so good. It was so good. So I threw.
So explain to me. Do you think Unleash Hell has made your army stronger?
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't play this many horrors before anyway. If I'm 100% honest, because it's not a bad list. It's hard work, but it's not bad, and it doesn't give up stuff very easy. And you can pin if you took the version where you can't retreat, it'd be fucking awful to play against, because you just hit this brass wall of crap, and then they'd be like, you just never fucking leave. It would suck. It would suck anyway. But yeah, Will, again, lovely human. His KO army is really, really pretty as well. And he's just super fun to play against. He's rigged one of his dice, so it only rolls 6s. But other than that, he rigged a metal dice. Cause
that's just strategy, though. That's just good strategy.
So what happened was, is I always make people pick my priority.
It's in the code.
Yeah, exactly. I always make people pick my priority roll dice, and then he was like, yeah, you choose mine. I was like, that dice. It was a 6, round 1. I was like, fuck. Okay, next turn, I was like, well, it's not going to roll a 6 again, that one. Rolled a 6 again. I was like, okay, round 3. It's not going to happen this time. Still rolled a fucking 6. And then James came over to test it to see if it was weighted, because we were livid at that point, weren't we, James?
Yeah. Fuming. But a great game, super fun. I was super lucky because actually I was able to do quite a lot of hurt from my spells, like Kairos' spell deleting the Bubble Boys. The Bubble Boys seem quite expensive, right, for Karajan Overlords. I don't know if you guys think that.
Yeah.
They're quite fragile in the meta that we're in at the moment for their wounds amount. I get that they're really
They're
good.
only at 4 up, aren't they?
4 up.
Yeah, with 2.
For 2
2
wounds.
wounds. Yeah.
I feel like that
Yeah.
they're a bit overpriced. He didn't have a lot of them on the board, is what I'm going to say. So anyway, and they are when you turn them into spawn, which I did. I loved it. It was great fun.
That's the best part about playing Zinch.
Yeah, the best part. It's the best part. And then my final game was against Fabian, who had been a player who played a lot in, I think in very competitive levels in previous editions. Before Age of Sigmar, I got into Age of Sigmar. He was running a Zinch Archeon list in not Host Duplicitus. He was running it in Host Arcanum, which we've talked about so much on the show. Obviously, you get to pre-game move stuff. You get an auto unbind, a bunch of other stuff. It was really hard for me to play against. I don't think I could necessarily screen it out particularly well. I could screen it out, but I couldn't move aggressively because at some point Archeon's going to just come and big dick my chicken, which is kind of okay, I guess. That's fine because he needs it. Clip that.
I was about to say, just Good phrasing. Solid
but-
phrasing. Archeon's gonna come and big dick my chicken.
Yeah, but Archeon, like, I left him a place. I left him a place to put his Archeon, and he charged him in there on the end, which was quite nice because I was okay with that. And then when he went in, I had a shooting phase because he went first. I had a shooting phase to try and like take Archeon down. I did 45 damage in my first shooting phase. It's 200 dice down. All 30 pink horrors.
Jesus.
Both units of 10 pink horrors. 45 damage to Archeon. Not forgetting, I have to re-roll 6s to hit him, and I was only hitting on 4s. How much damage did I do after 45 wound dice? At -1.
So he
2
had
wounds.
45 saves. To make.
But 45 saves to make, and he can only fail them on a 1.
2. I reckon you did 2 wounds.
Twitch chat.
That's not on average. So what's that divided by 6? So it's about 7.
Okay. Appreciate you, Nath.
Yeah. Does he have a ward save as well?
No, nothing after. It's just flat.
No, so he should take 7.
Yeah. He took 3. So that was sad.
He had those
So-
dice.
So what I'm hearing is I took a filthy spam list that just throws pink horrors in your face until you drown in fire, and you're getting upset that someone went, I'm bringing something that can receive the gift of your fire and not care.
Yeah. Well, no,
So
I
you-
paired myself
you
into
took-
that.
You took rock and you're upset that you met paper.
Yes. Well, no. Just more like I think I kill him on average, right? Because the 7, and then in the next shooting phase. So then there was the priority roll next, and the important point is I used Destiny dice to stop the Mystic Shield. This is going to kind of be a conversation at the end of this, which is going to be, I think, really important, and I'm sure you guys have experienced. I Destiny dice to stop his Mystic Shield, right? Which were my 2 highest Destiny dice. I chose 2 5s to get rid of it. Like, neither of us rolled 6s. It was hilarious. So I stopped his Mystic Shield so that when he did charge me, he was only going to be able to use take cover. Not take cover, sorry. What's it called? The defense one. All-out defense.
Yeah.
Or
All-out
in
defense,
his
yeah.
turn. So then in my next hero phase, before I shot, he used in their finest hour, so he gets +1 save. Okay, and then in my shooting phase,
Right, yeah.
he used all-out defense, so he was on a +2 save. I had Rend 1, and that's why he was able to save it on a 2-up as opposed to a 3-up, right? So like Nathan says, 7 damage. But in the next turn, if I'd have won the priority roll, which I did not, I would have been able to have done the same amount of shots, and statistically, he should take about 15 damage, because he's only able to do take cover. Not take cover, all-out defense. All-out defense. So then he's not saving them on a 1 and 2. And unfortunately, I didn't win the priority roll, and it kind of went downhill. And then he fought those pink horrors for, 5 combat rounds. Like, as in, no. Turn 3, 6 combat rounds, Archeon going into the pink horrors. And then they flew Kairos over, and he threw some Screamers over. And I was basically pinned into my objective. Like, he played it really well. Big shout out to Fabian as well, because he could have just sat off on kind of 3 objectives and never really moved, and just kept threatening me with Archeon, if that makes sense. He could have just sat there and be like, I've got a big dog, whichever objective you try and push onto, I'm going to send the big dog there and push you off, sort of thing. And if I left my deployment particularly much, I think that's the case anyway, I'm not sure, but instead he decided to play a more engaging game, which was awesome of him, so thanks. Loved that. Anyway, by turn 4, he still hadn't killed all the pink horrors. And he'd been in combat since turn 1. It was great. It was great. And then at one point, the best bit was, at one point he wanted to do less damage with Archeon because he didn't want to kill them so that they were out of combat so I could rally them in the next stage. All right, in the next turn, because then I would have rallied loads more pink horrors back. It would have not won me the game, but it would have been hilarious. And he failed one of his big claw attacks, so I Kairos'd it so that he didn't fail it. Right? On the to hit, yeah? And then he was like, fuck you. And then he rolled to wound and he rolled a 1, and I was like, fuck.
Oh, that's great.
It was great. It was so fun.
Best laid plans.
Yeah. Anyway, so I lost that game as well, and that was a 20-0. So that was the only one I lost, which was that was the second one I lost because me and Will played. But it was a great time. I had loads of fun. I probably wouldn't take the 30 again because it's useless. As in, there's no need to have something survive that long. It doesn't do anything. It's just a comedy. And
it'd be better off having like a 20 and a 10, like more flexible on the board?
I think, yeah. So if I drop 10, I get 215 points back for whatever I want. Like, it could be anything, right? Maybe some Untamed Beasts to do some early trading. I don't know if I can ally them in now. They might be Coalition, I'm not sure. But something like that to do some more trading. Another Spellcaster. Who knows what it would be. Could be something super fun. Probably also, I really like the Rend on all the pink horror shooting. That was really good. But I also like the idea of going Guild of Summoners, and because at Guild of Summoners sub-faction, if you get 9 fate points, which is fucking piece of piss to get when you've got cogs, you can get a Lord of Change turn 1, pretty much, which is pretty mental. So, like, yeah, you can summon a Lord of Change turn 1. Like, I think... Yeah, yes, really easy.
No, just no.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the interesting one. But yeah, so I think I'd like to mix it up again, but I still think it's got loads of legs. And that's what I kind of wanted to do as a takeaway, is I played the worst version of Pink Horrors. As in, you have to go below the starting unit size to ever be able to use Rally or Life Swarm, which I didn't have Life Swarm, but any of those. And the pink and the banner is useless. Dan, you know when you roll a 1, you get D6 back?
Yeah.
Well, under the way that I've ruled it at our events, that doesn't even work. So it's just useless, basically. And
it's only once you get to Brims, but then you can't use the banner then, can you? So
exactly.
Because you don't have the banner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like, and even in that setting, I think 215 points for those pinks were just... Nathan, you played against it. You tell me. What do you think?
What, like, do I think that's fair price?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, playing it the way you play them, it's, I don't know, it's probably thereabouts. I think they could maybe go up a little bit more, but, they're about there, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that... You think they need to go up more a bit?
I mean, compared to other stuff... Well, I'm just comparing it to my stuff, so maybe not. Maybe if in the game in general, they're probably okay. Because I reckon killing 10 pinks is has got a lot easier, because it just seems like some stuff can really lay down a good beating. And I think you can see some armies that will go through 10 pinks. And possibly in a turn. If you get hit by a fired up Maw-Crusher or something like that, he could probably take it off. So yeah.
So 10 pinks is how many wounds?
50 wounds.
50 wounds. So
you
need
it's
to
215 points for 50 wounds. So if you're going to get 50 wounds of say stabbers or shooters, okay, which are the crappier ones. So they're 140 for 20. So you're looking at 280 plus another 70. So it's 310 if you took 50 wounds of stabbers.
And arguably, you can do more with the horrors because of the re-rolls and the rend and stuff like that. But
I mean, you don't have all 50 wounds on the table at the point. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
I actually think they're better. What I will say, they're better for having 50 wounds and not having 50 models on the table. Because if you had to be orientating your charges and moving units through with a big block of 50, that'd be so unwieldy and so easy to tag.
Yeah.
It's better when you can throw 10 on an objective and be like, the more you kill, the harder you push, the better my scoring is on this objective. Because I think they're better as a unit like that, rather than being like, bam, here's 50, eat it.
Yeah, I think if you compare those two units specifically as well, because they're both shooters and they're both pretty shit at it, really.
How dare you?
Yeah, well, they couldn't kill 5 Spider Riders, could they? So oh, shit.
But anyway,
they could hardly kill 1.
It's true.
Yeah. So, So if you compare those, but then that either then the shooters are badly overpriced, or So it probably lies somewhere in between, because I do think the shooters are probably overpriced.
Mm.
Do you have access to a priest?
No. Well, you are correct. First thing I did when I got home was a war shrine can come in as a coalition force, but I don't know if I can get my coalition model to have a. I don't think I can take a prayer from the generic enhancements with a coalition model.
Coalition can take enhancements, can't they? It's
Yes,
allies
coalition
that can't.
can. Yeah, coalition
so then
can.
you can.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay, well I'm dropping.
Yeah, so
I'm dropping 10
if
pinks
you have,
for a war shrine then.
If you have Stormcast wizards
cities.
in the cities, they can take spells. So
they can't be the general, but they can take spells and artifacts.
Oh,
and
so for
enhancements.
everyone at home,
they can't take endless spells. Can
so
they?
for everyone at home, the reason we're talking about this is because a priest get access to the priest, generic priest prayer incantation curse. Yeah.
I was about to say
Oh.
the only
James
one
has
that
got
you're
it.
going to
James has hit it. Oh my god, that's the next version of the list. So then you hit,
and
you
it's,
hit
it's
the
a
pink.
worst
horror
part.
show.
The worst part about that is the Chaos War Shrine is probably one of my favourite Chaos models.
It's so
and
good.
you're about to make it disgusting.
Well,
it's even better when I have all these models painted.
So you could curse a unit in 9 inches, and any 6s to hit are going to cause a more wound, and that's really nice.
Are you shooting 200 shots, eh?
Well, if I drop 10 pink horrors, then I'm not shooting 200 shots. I'm only shooting I'm only shooting
150 shots or
170 shots, so it's not quite as many.
So
yeah,
and you get the rerolls. Are the rerolls misses or just flat rerolls?
Oh my god, such a good question, Nathan. It's one of those exciting questions you get asked when one of your friends.
Dear God, he's gold blooming just because he should doesn't.
Oh, we're definitely going to do it.
He should.
We're going to do it.
Because if you're shooting at like Archeon, then there's no point.
You can reroll hit rolls.
Yeah, so you just reroll everything that's not a 6.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Well,
so someone's made a really good point in the chat. Let me just double check something. But you carry on, Nathan. What are you saying? Sorry.
Yeah. So Archeon will make you reroll 6s.
Yeah.
So you just pick up all your dice and reroll the whole lot again. Because then whatever you roll the 6s the next time, so 180 dice. That's 30 mortal wounds.
Do you know what you can't do? Is you can't use Kairos' spell to change the result of a prayer. Heartbreak. That would be perfect. So you could guarantee it. That would be good.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone running there, Nagashi across the table, and you're like, 42 mortal wounds. I rolled average, slightly better than average.
Anyway, how many friends are you trying to lose? Hey, right, well, let's talk about this. Roll the dice, you cheater. I'm sick of rolling dice. I'm like 4 years ago, I was like, oh no, we should all roll dice. And now I'm like, it's so much easier just picking your dice. I love it. Right, so how you sleep at night, Rob? You know I don't. Not for 37 years.
That's true.
So some takeaways, though, from the event, and I wonder if this is true for all of you, is it's interesting that Rend feels useless completely. Like the amount of times where you just take where you all out defense is just madness. So my pink horrors have a base 6-up save, and they would just die to anything, right? But I would stick Mystic Shield on them every turn, and then whenever anyone hit them, I would take cover. So unless they had Rend 2, which they didn't have Rend 2,
take cover. All out defense.
All out defense.
Did you not read those
Sorry,
articles?
all out defense. Sorry, I would all out defense. At which point, I would just have, unless you had Rend 2, I would just have a 5-up save. Which is crazy on that many wounds anyway. But, on some other units, if you put a Mystic Shield on a 3-up armor save, like Varangard, like Mark, who's in the chat, did, lovely, lovely human being, I just like to say, great shirts. He, may we always wear them. Whenever I attacked him, he'd be like, cool, I'm going to all-out defense again. Or, because the Varangard were also heroes, so he could, or leaders, sorry, but and heroes, so he could use it in their finest hour, so they could be ignoring Rend 1 as well. So it's this 2-up armor save. Nathan, you've played a bit against this. What do you think about all this 2-up armor save stuff?
Yeah. It'll promote you maybe splitting your shots so that they have to spread their all-out defenses and they can't do it. So... But it's whether you have the option of multiple targets, I guess. But
I think I had noticed with my like Dwarden in cities, because they are almost everything has rend, and then you have the prayer to increase their rend, that a lot of the time that just all it did was lead to an arms race against my opponent. Like I'd be like, cool, well, I'm rend 2, and then they'd be like, okay, well, I'm +1 to my armor save, so you're only rend 1. Or like I would be buffing my rend in anticipation of them using that to do it, which I think the thing is, it makes rend really important because you need to be able to counter your opponent automatically if they've got spare command points, putting on all out defense on someone. But you're exactly right, Rob, in that it means that instead of rend being this ability to affect someone's save, it's now more of like a math game between you and your opponent over who buffs and who negs and whatnot, and what you end up at.
Yeah, so we've got some comments in the chat, actually, which I think are really interesting, especially from Bristolite. It says, this past weekend I ran a list of 30 Vindictors. Lord Arcanum, Vinastra, and Knight Valexa. I didn't win any games, but constantly having 30 wounds that go up to a 2+, and then I constantly heal, stop you from killing, or bring back models on the models on the unit while they punch back with mortal wounds, was obnoxious for my opponents, which I think is super fair. I know there's a question in the chat. I'll talk about that in a minute, Cohen Camber. If you've got any questions, let us know, and we'll do questions right at the end.
This was a Q&A show, and we haven't gotten to the Qs yet.
No.
So that's
No, we haven't. Apologies. But yeah, there are fewer reroll saves, but the saves are just higher. James, you were having some of that at the weekend. You were having the high saves. Did you feel like you just like had like 2 gun arms? Were you like I'm never going to be hurt? Like, did you feel a bit invincible?
I think most of the armies I played against were also like pretty strong.
Okay.
Like, I don't think there was a point where I was like, oh, this army I'm playing against is garbage. So I think for me, the one thing that brought to every single table was there was normally enough either damage output or mortal wound output.
Yep.
That there were things that dealt with all my high armor saves. The Annihilators did nothing all weekend. It took 3 Annihilators. They really didn't do a lot.
Why not?
What rend are they?
-1.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what we kind of say, that like rend 1 is effectively useless in my opinion. But
they're also slow.
Yeah.
Rend 1.
Yeah.
But see, where it got interesting for me was then trying to draw out my opponent's command points. Like I'd hit a unit with rend that I knew took them to like a 6+ save, so my opponent would use all out defense on them, because I was trying to draw command points so they didn't have anything left to auto pass battle shock later in that turn. Like I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I really like the way command points work now, because it's a resource that you can attack your opponent's resource if you get cunning about it.
Yeah, but so
I think that's really interesting.
So on something like Archeon, though, I think it becomes really really obnoxious. Like, being 100% honest, yeah. Like, and this isn't because I played at the weekend. Like, it's because like that's going to be the experience. There was Nagashi's here at the weekend as well, right? Being played by Andy, who I think Andy stole his list off Greg. I'm not. That's the rumor. I'm just throwing some quick hot fire into the Wales chat there. I just want you to know. Clip that. Right. So the point is that like if you go back to the army list writing stage, Dan, like, so in game, if you're just taking some stuff, then fine. I think your point is really really salient and correct. But if you go back to the list writing stage, you could just turn up and be like, cool. So Greg's running a Vengori Lord with Archeon, with Nagash in Soulblight Gravelords. So the Vengori Lord is reducing save by 1. Rend by 1. So he's already reducing the rend by 1 of units that attack him and attack Nagash. Nagash has got Mystic Shield on him, so he's now on a 2+ save. He's then, whenever you attack him, he's using all-out defense. So he's effectively ignoring rend of 3. So he's faux immortal, effectively, right? Which you're like, okay, you've spent a lot of points on him, but he's immortal. Like, he's immortal. Like I can't write lists other than to Gotrek, because I know we're potentially, like, the rumor mill here in the UK, by the way, is, because there is a rumor mill, is that Gotrek's going to get an FAQ rewrite over the next like 3 to 4 weeks, because there's a wave of new FAQs coming out. And actually, I think that that's a huge negative, because like there's nothing that scares Archeon and Nagash at the moment. Like, there's nothing. They're just like, I'll fuck anything. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like it's like they're on Love Island. Yeah, they're like, I'm too top. they're like Archeon, what you like? He's like, I'm a fucking top shagger. I'm in loads of DMs. You're like, right?
And then there's this little ginger kid that comes up and just takes the rug from under his feet.
He just comes up, he unzips and just goes thunk. Like, that's it. They're
You
just
could
like, oh my
probably
God.
make him way better by just removing his more easily pointed by just removing his rerolls.
Or something like that, right?
But
Yeah.
there's also something that I like in Gotrek, in that his rules feel like how he should be, if that makes sense. Like if Gotrek rocked up, had 6 attacks, you're like, oh fuck, I missed with 4 of them. You'd be like, how? Like, how does this man who has killed some of the greatest things in the world that was in the mortal realms, who like got eaten by one of the what are they called, the mega beasties, the
God Beast,
Swamp monsters,
God Beast,
whatever, no, the God Beast, got eaten by a God Beast, like all of this stuff, and then he's like swings in and doesn't hit with shit. I think it's right, and the thing is, I think he's brutal because he fucks so much stuff up. But if you have a lot of chip damage, like I know that your shooting in that first round was a bit bunk, Rob, but he goes down relatively quickly if you've got like 1 wound chip damage you can put onto him, because he does only have 8.
Yeah.
Gotrek, like he can die to the right things. And someone in the chat saying, Lee Taylor's pointing out 9 Storm Fiends made a mess of Archeon. I don't think that's really like. Not everyone could do 9 Storm Fiends. there's a whole bunch.
Also, was that 9 Storm Fiends flat?
Yeah.
Because it'd be like 9 Storm Fiends, more warp power, like all the other stuff. Like, just suddenly those 9 Storm Fiends are actually like 1,500 points worth of buffs going to them as well.
So let's talk about Nagash and Archeon specifically, right? So they are, Nagash and Archeon, they are +1 save all the time, basically, and sometimes +2 save. So they're on a 2-up save all the time. Okay, so if I don't have Ren 2 or Ren 3, I'm not killing them, which is okay, fair enough. But that's not where it gets bad. This is where it gets worse. Because Archeon, over the course of a game, can heal 15 D3. Now, that's not in one turn. That's a heroic action in every turn. And you're not going to necessarily always roll underneath his bravery for D3, but you could. And he's also got an ability in the hero phase, so once per his hero phase, to heal another D3. So over the course of a battle round, 3 D3 heals on a 2-up save, ignoring 4. Yeah. And then Nagash, the same, right? Like, it's pretty crazy when you start looking at it. Like, James, did you run into any of the Nagashes over the weekend or last weekend?
No. I've avoided Nagashes and I avoided Archeon.
Okay. All right. Well,
which is lovely.
Yeah. And Nagash has 3 times D3. Thank you very much, OJ. Big love to you, because he's got Soul Stealer as well. And if you took Archeon and Heat Knights, you could heal him even more. Just the rest of the issue would be the army around him, I guess. But yeah, and like Coloru, who played him at the weekend, so Coloru was playing with Khorne, and he felt like, and I know that that's true, he said, I don't feel like I could even touch them. And, like, I think it's cool that they're there, but ultimately, do we really think that that's, like, it feels like it's just 4 or 5 god beasts, god monsters running around, and someone will say, well, you can take Be'lakor and shut them down. It's just another fucking god monster, right? Like...
Yeah. But again, that's only one army that has access to that. Rather than being like, like, if you were to say what's Gotrek's weakness, it's like massed chip damage.
Yeah. So there's a nice counterplay.
Which almost every army has access to mass chip damage. If you said, how do you kill Archeon? And the answer was take Gotrek. Not every army has access to a Gotrek level monster killer.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. 9 Storm Fiends, they have it. And Archeon versus Nagash is a thing. That's pretty fun. Thank you to Spleen Stabber for resubscribing, subbing for this hot orc summer. You've got it, baby. And also thanks to Gargant Ballbag for resubscribing for 2 months. Always a
Wonderful name.
wonderful name.
So good, so good.
But ultimately, like, how do we? So, like, my question is, like, a few fold. Mere Mouse, thanks for resubscribing. Lovely, thank you so much, and thanks for the amazing game at the weekend. I loved it. A couple of questions is, do you feel like Gotrek should even get a nerf? Because if he's not getting a nerf, if he gets a nerf, so he's not the Nagash and Archeon Slayer, it doesn't really work for me in a rock paper scissors mechanic. Because currently, unless I run 9 Storm Fiends, because that's 100% going to do it, I don't know what else fucking does it. Nathan, your Gits army up against Nagash, not Speckles' Nagash, that's very different Nagash.
I was going to say the only Nagash I've faced is dead. But yeah. At the moment, the Gits army struggles because then you're relying on mortal wounds, but they can break the combos pretty easy if they want to with their magic. So they've got other stuff as well, just to disrupt your combos that you would need to be able to get through that armor save.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm not, probably won't be casting spells against the likes of Nagash either.
Conru, anyone who thinks Gotrek is fine is honestly just dumb. Now, Conru, I don't think he's fine, but I think that there needs to be some genuine conversation about how you can even... Like, I don't think Nagash is fine. I don't think a 1,000-point model that's immortal effectively is fine. I also don't think 9 Storm Fiends is fine. I'm going to put that out there as well. I'm going to put that down as a problem child. Like, because they're like you just put them down and you fucking delete everything. It sucks. And it doesn't do it all the time. I know it's not consistent all the time, but why would that be something that we want in game? You know, you're like, I've painted up this little squad.
For that to be a possibility, yeah.
Why would you want that? Why would you want an immortal god character? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why would you want that to be a thing? I guess is my question. Or am I, like, and I'm not, like, particularly, I think Age of Sigmar 3 is amazing. I love it. I can't wait to play more games this week, next week, forever. Like, I'm super excited. I'm just more thinking for everyone else. Like, Declan was running his Gits here on Saturday, and he threw... I don't know. He said he threw like 1,800 points at Nagash, and he did like 1 fucking wound. He was like, he's like, man, I threw it all. And also, 1 wound is rubbish, but when he then heals D3 straight away.
I was about to say, like, I got 1 on him, and it's like, sweet. No, you didn't. You actually didn't. I went through all that. I actually remember someone playing this is like when Legions first came out. Like old Legions of Nagash, someone had a big block of Graveguard carved up a unit of, this is when the Sequitors just first came out, and they had, whatever, +1 to their save and reroll saves and whatnot, and a huge blob of Graveguard that attacked twice did 1 wound. And he was like, cool, yeah, that just fucks me for ever wanting to play Stormcast again, because I just put my big death unit into his and I did nothing. And I was like, yeah, it's a really negative play experience when you can't kill your opponent's stuff.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think, James?
It's such a hard one, isn't it? Like, like several times at the weekend, I was like, I've brought an army. There's not a huge amount of damage in it, because actually, like, the best damage in my entire army was the Celestin Prime, whose damage output once upon a time was terrifying. Now isn't. And like, I played John with his Iron Jaws army, who was in the sub faction where they ignore a rend, with a Maw Crusher who got basically ignored 3 rend by the time he'd fully buffed him. And it's suddenly then like, well, actually my -3 damage character with 5 attacks has no chance of ever killing this model and will die in seconds. So the worst part is, I think, that basically every game I played, because I played last week with a Gotrek, and I said, I'm not bringing him this week, because personally, I don't think he's fun to play. I didn't find him enjoyable. And I don't think he's fun to play against, because I either played opponents who didn't really know how to deal with him, and he walked into their army and deleted what he touched.
Yeah.
Or I played other people. So I played Donal, who brought Kragnos and co. And he spent an entire game walking the other way, which like isn't really exciting for me.
That's true.
Isn't really exciting for him.
That's true.
Because you're just like, all we did, and we had a really nice game. It was really enjoyable. There was a hilarious point where Gotrek rolled a double one charge into a double one charge. That was great for me. But like, we had a really nice time, but we basically ended up, I emptied all of the measuring sticks out of my bag. He emptied all the measuring sticks out of his bag, and every turn we just did like 18 inches of Gotrek in every direction, and he just stayed away from him. And so like, into the
Coward!
game, yeah, but like he couldn't deal with him. So at the end of the game, because Kragnos had spent the game running away, we did the combat, and I think my Gotrek on an average roll killed Kragnos in 2 rounds of combat, on a good roll in 1, and Kragnos basically did 1 wound. Like,
But then similarly, Pa, who's in the chat, who was there at the weekend, fucking so happy to see him again. Fucking great guy, who brought like all his griffins and like his crossbowmen. He fired 60 crossbow shots into Nagash, did 1 wound, and didn't bother rolling them the turn after. Whereas actually those 60 crossbow shots work really well into Gotrek. Is what I'm trying to say. Like I don't think Gotrek is healthy for the game, but neither are the 9 Storm Fiends, neither are the Nagashes or the Archeons. But if there's a rock, paper, scissors to it, then I can kind of abide it a bit, I guess.
I think where I wanted to end up, was just that I think the current problem we have is that Death have Nagash.
Yeah.
Chaos has Archeon.
And
that's
Be'lakor.
kind of where it ends. Like, and Be'lakor and Kragnos in Destruction, although I don't think he's the same sort of level. And so I think that's another issue we have at the minute, where, like, if you've got all those unkillable characters, like if every army has an unkillable character that can kill each other, then you end up with Godhammer, where everyone's probably got a god and that's how it works. But until that point, where you've just got people who are kind of like, right, well, you've got disgustingly hard to kill characters, and I don't. So to deal with that, I take a tiny little ginger dwarf.
So a couple of things in the chat I'd love to talk about, and then Cohen Cambry has been able to lead me into like a really great next segment, which I'd love to talk about. So thanks so much. So Velatron said, I do think that Gotrek is more of a problem than setting Nagash, just because of his points. I'm more than fine having an almost unkillable unit if it costs half the points in the army. Also for Nagash, risk of rolling double one spells. 430 points, 435. Gotrek offers too much, potentially, which I think is something really interesting. Obviously, Marathi's also bent. I just put that out there, of course. Just clarify.
I kind of see what you're saying, but I would flip that around. A lot of armies have the ability to counter that 430 points that's Gotrek. And from my angle on things, Gotrek is a terrifying beast in combat. Absolutely terrifying. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, he's movement 4. He can never be teleported or taken off the board or moved around. So he has to walk his way into it. And he's only dangerous in one phase of the game. Where people like Nagash and your Archeons and stuff, they've got magic, they've got abilities, they've got buffs, they've got the ability to heal themselves. Like, all of the things that make them fucked up are already built into them, and they come already provided. Whereas Gotrek has to kind of get there. And that, I know that that's not an excuse, but when you have something like Nagash, who's like, cool, I'm a 2-up rerolling 1 saves. I've got a DPR save after save as well. I'm a beast in combat. I'm a beast at magic. I buff my army. And then when you hurt me, I heal myself. Like, that for me is where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's a really awful combo for an unkillable god. Whereas Gotrek with 8 wounds, yes, again, yeah, like that sucks, but the best he can be is a 3-up save and a 3-up DPR. You hit him with enough shit, you can get through it. And Gotrek healing is admittedly, he needs to use his command thing, or you need to have spells to do it all, but it's not built into him. And that, for me, is where you have the disparity between those god monsters and Gotrek. And that's why I don't see him as big a problem. Because some armies can
Dude, you haven't
feed
played
him.
Like he just sits on objectives like this is mine. I fucking win. He can redeploy into stuff and he can heal, which is not like it's like he's got a plus. He can have Mystic Shield, which is +1, which he didn't have in points before, and then he can do all out defense. So it's actually +1, ignore 1. So it's pretty fucking potent. But anyway, the point is, and Cohen Cambria made a really good point in the chat that I'd like to talk about here. Is the problem is in a 3-hour game with a mostly foregone conclusion. Like if you see a Gotrek and he's like, if I touch your army, I win, and you're like, well, fuck, really got to get all those objectives. Like, like some fucking shit time for me, right? Like if you go into one of those situations, you think, well, what the fuck do I do against like these big god monsters? It doesn't feel particularly great, which is why I'd like to talk about the scoring system that we used at the weekend, and I'm putting a blog post up tomorrow for the scoring system that I'm going to use at singles events as well as at the team event. And I've talked about this before, but I kind of want to have a conversation about it because James played under it at the weekend, and I kind of want to get some thoughts off him. Thanks to Dr. LMP for resubscribing. Appreciate you. So let's talk about this because I think this is quite interesting. Oh, nice. We're all in the shot so you guys can see. I'll try and make this a little bit bigger. Let me just get this up. So one of the things that might happen at a singles tournament, is how do you decide the winner? And there's loads of different ideas going around at the moment. Like Dr. Pim, Hydra Homies, let's go. Plus one to the podcast. Plus one. And also Dan, when you're playing against Gotrek, Par makes a good point. There's also a Seraphon army fucking behind him. 1,600 points to Seraphon as well.
They're probably also, that might be the bigger point of the conversation is the armies that he can be taken with, because
Eels?
if I don't think he's as busted in a city as a Sigmar army, as compared to if he's in an Eel army or
just
a Seraphon
they're more
army.
busted than the city's army.
Yeah. I will freely say that. I think cities have tons of options, but you look at like Eels and Seraphon and where they're at, I don't think cities is on the same playing field at the moment.
That's fair. Right, so primary scorer. So let's talk about being at a tournament, right? At the minute, at the tournament, if you play in a tournament, you win, you lose, or you win, you minor win, you draw, you minor lose, or you major lose, right? Those are the kind of results. Now, normally at Age of Sigmar events before, what we did is we gave them a points amount that you got for taking out the tournament. Like, for instance, the one I've put on the screen is wins are worth 20 tournament points, right? Minor wins are worth 14 tournament points. And then what we did is we had the secondaries, so the auxiliary tactics, and they would make sometimes those points go up and down. Some tournaments they would have if you did them. Some tournaments didn't have them at all. Australia were like, fuck auxiliaries, man. Like, they were like, fuck them, right? So they didn't give a shit. Whereas some people did, and some people had it.
It's too much to count when
exactly.
you're drunk.
Some people are like, look, if we're going to use 2, and it's just going to be that. Some people are like, you're going to score 2, and if you deny 2 for like a swing on a points variance from a 20-0 system. So those sorts of things. But the problem is now is the secondaries, i.e. the battle tactics, are hard baked into the victory points, and that's how you work out who's won, right? So easy peasy. So you and me play a game. It's a major victory. And that's because I've scored 20 points and you've scored 15 points. And that's because I did my secondaries, which are my battle tactics, and I've done my tertiary, which is my grand strategy. That's how I've done it, right? So there needs to be a system.
Yep.
There needs to be a system for working out what these, like a differential. Because even at a one-day event with enough people, you'll just end up with a few people on 3-0s. And then your secondary, a big 200-person event one day again, you could end up with several people on 5-0, right? That could be something that could happen. So you need a secondary way of doing it. And there's loads of problems with that. Because, like, do you do the who completed the most battle tactics? It feels a bit arbitrary because then you can't build lists that are designed to do the primary. And also the battle tactics are...
Yeah, because you're building it based around that. Yeah.
Like,
okay, that makes sense.
That one doesn't... Okay, the person who completed the most grand strategies, well, it's like not grand which is the tertiary. Well, like some of them are so fucking easy to achieve, it's a joke. Like prize sorcery, like keep a wizard alive. It's pretty fucking bent on some armies.
Or a lot like keep battle line alive and things like that. You're like, oh my god, yes,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah, with 50 pinks, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm sure I can keep a battle line alive.
I'm
yeah,
sure
right?
you are.
So like that seems a bit arbitrary as well. So then you go, okay, let's do strength of schedule, right? Easy peasy, win, loss, draw, strength of schedule. Now, there's a couple of problems with strength of schedule, and there's a couple of positives. Positives, obviously, it's quick, it's easy, and it works quite nicely, and they do it in other systems. A problem is that it's a little bit confusing as to how it even fucking works if you're someone who's fairly new.
Also, yeah, actually, for those who have never heard of it or maybe aren't tournament players, what do you mean by strength of schedule?
So effectively, me and James, we win 5 games at a tournament because we're brilliant, right? Yeah? And I've played loads of people who've done really badly in all their games after we played. And James has played people who've done really well in all their games after they've played. So even though me and James have won 5 games, James does better than me. James comes higher than me in that bracket. And that's because the people he played just happened to be better than the people who I played, or more lucky, or whatever you want from that conversation, right? So,
but you're working backwards.
You're
working backwards, looking at what
it's meant to do. What it's trying to do is say your path to victory was harder to achieve. So you did better than me. So I beat a bunch of noobs, and James beat a bunch of experienced players, and that's how he got higher. Problem is, it doesn't necessarily work out that way, because some people can leave the event. That works. That doesn't happen. Sometimes, but you as a gamer can do nothing to change your fate. You've won your 5 games.
Yeah.
You've tried your hardest, and now it's luck.
And it also, like you say, the one that really fucks me off there is you have people who drop after game 1. Like, they're like, cool, day 1, sorry. They're like, I lost a game, I'm leaving, because they're only there to win. It's a fuckhead thing, but people do it. Or they get sick and they have a very good reason for it, whatever it is, but they're not there day 2, which means suddenly, if I played that person, they've got 2 zeros on their strength of schedule, which means I look like I didn't work as hard to beat them because they
100%.
weren't as good.
Yeah. Nathan, you've played with strength of schedule as well. Have you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I can see. I think it's quite a good way of doing it, but I can see that it can give some people the bad feels because there is a bit of luck in it, especially from the first few rounds.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it means people don't like RNG. Carry on, sorry, Nate.
Yeah, I mean there is another way where it's it depends on when, how far into the tournament you lost your game, but that relies on you losing a game, so that won't work really, will it? Because there's people that won't be losing games, and those are the ones that you want to differentiate. So yeah, I mean it would be nice if you could just make a score that would be that granular that you can pick out what a winner. That would be very lucky.
It would be, Nathan. Nathan, is there a reason that your camera is it's just your hands?
I can't see my camera, so I don't know what's going on.
It has been for the whole stream. It's been fucking hilarious. Anyway.
It's because I'm in bed.
All right. So, by the way, in the chat, great suggestion from Andrew Yells, sorry, which I massively agree with, is just award trophies for 5-0 and 4-1. There's too much pedantry. Everyone's like, I won! And it's like, well, he also 5-0'd. So whenever me and Owen do the Age of Sigmar Stats Center, I always talk about the bracket. You guys came in the 3-0 bracket. You guys came in the 4-1 bracket. I always think the brackets are more important than the first, second, third, right? Because it's just arbitrary most of the time when it gets to a certain point, ultimately. But yeah, it's kind of weird. But there is ways to make this more interesting, I think. So that's the kind of conversation about strength schedule. And if someone doesn't think I've done a good enough job about advocating for it, I would love to hear your thoughts. But what we did in the team
Also, sorry, where's 8069? If you're taking gyros in a dispossessed city's army, I would 100% say you either want to take Excelsis, Greywater, or Tempest High.
Yeah, Tempest High, 100%.
Oh, Greywater, though, an extra 3 inches on all of your gyros, plus giving 1 unit +1 to hit a turn.
Oh, you love that, do you?
And reroll 1s to hit. Oh, gyros. Or Excelsis, where someone charges you and you're like, cool, I'm going to unleash hell. They're like, great, you're at -1 to hit. You're like, yep, but on a 2-up, I'm +1 to hit. Eat it.
Eat it, baby. Yeah. It's all right. No, that works.
I love gyrocopters. Gyrocopters tickle me. It's as if a gyrocopter is just hovering underneath my special place and the blades are just gently fanning me. That's the level of joyful tickle that I get from gyrocopters. I'm just like, ooh, that's it. Yeah.
Like a hand fan.
Gyrocopters.
You're like, this isn't really doing much, but it amuses the crap out of me.
It's more of a ham fan down there. Like it's just sitting there, like keeping my hams in a nice, comfortable state.
So listen, other events, sometimes what they do, like at large scale events, is they'll do like a cut off, like Azriel's saying in the chat, like a top 8 or something in some particular events. Although Andrew Yells is still, I think, on it for the money. I think you're never going to push these people because there's too much personal ego invested in a 1, 2, 3 spot all around the world. There's too much like dick measuring. But Andrew Yells points it out, I think. Also, if you win a trophy based on a bracket of people, you might be able to see some cool 4-1 lists that they otherwise might not have seen. So, for instance, you might have like 20 people in a 4-1 bracket who end up like with you'll see some fun stuff in the 4-1 bracket, right? How did you do? Oh, I once came in a bracket, like the first place bracket, and I think that's really fun. Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Or like, you could call it something. You could call it tiers, or you could call it positions, or whatever. But I like that as well because then I always really enjoy when we can all succeed and fail together. I know that sounds really dumb, but having a couple of people where you go to events and everyone's doing that thing where they're kind of sussing out how other people went, and it's not. There are some people who it's so genuine because they care, and then there are some people who you can tell they're just asking you to try and work out how you did to balance you and be like, oh, do I play you? How am I doing? Like, where am I situated? And I'm always like, that's not great. Whereas if you came up to someone, you were like, we can both win. Like, we can both number 1 this shit. You'd be like so fucking pumped with that person.
It's really cool. But so I kind of agree with that with placings. I'd like Andrew to be clear with Andrew. I don't hate that idea, is what I'm going to say. I'm high-fiving that. That sounds super fun. However, it doesn't do something, in my opinion, for games which is kind of where we kick this conversation off. It doesn't do something for games where you're going to lose. Like very early. Do you know what I mean? You do a misplay, they alpha strike something off, you think, fuck, I'm going to lose. Yeah? And you're just going to lose. Because when you make it so it's just you win or you lose, like, you've got to play for like fucking an hour and a half losing. That fucking sucks. Yeah? That's not fun at all. Now, at the weekend for the team event, this weekend and last weekend, we were trying out our team scoring system. And I suggest that we use this for singles as well. So you end up with a bracket, like we were just discussing in the chat. So you have 5 people that have gone 5-0, let's say, yeah, and 25 people that have gone 4-1. So how do you differentiate between how good they've done? Well, my suggestion is that we do the points differential between their games. So James did this. You played all this yesterday. So mine and James's team were intentionally getting our ass kicked all weekend to try and test it out. The fun thing is you start the game both on 10-10. Shout to the Iceman in the chat who's cried out, "Wololo!
Wololo!
In the most terrifying, when you didn't have those, that was the most terrifying noise to hear because you're like, where the fuck is he? Where the fuck is he? Like, then suddenly you're like, night turns around, you're like, God damn it.
So the winning people are already winning, right? I don't think there needs to be anything to help out the winning people. Does that make sense? Like, you're getting a trophy, you're getting on the podium, you're getting all those other things. We need to work out a way where you feel rewarded in the way that you play. And strength of schedule, I don't think is particularly the way to do it anyway. I think it's a bit too arbitrary. But what you can have in this, so you've separated out your winners and your different score sets into different brackets. So then you do the points differential. So it's really easy. Me and James are playing a game. We both get the same victory points. So let's say we get 17-17. Yeah, I should have picked an easier number, but we've done it now. 16-16. We both score 16 victory points each. That means we score a 10-10. In the game, it would be a draw, obviously, unless it was one of those ones where the person who did more battle tactics gets a minor victory. So then James would get a minor victory, which would give him, I think it's like 14 tournament points. But in the differential, it would be a 10-10. Now, if I get 16 points and James beats me by getting 20 victory points, he gets a major victory. But he'll only get a 12-8. That's all he'll get. He'll get a 12-8. Right? And what's really exciting about that is when you're getting your fucking ass kicked. Because there's a massive difference between I lost and I played this guy, he was kicking my ass, but I got 4 points. Because there's 0 points, which feels shit, which is a loss, and there's 4 points, which I didn't get a 0. And there's such a significant difference, I think, psychologically for people playing. Having played this weekend, I lost 2 of my games. I had an amazing time, and I think one of the games was 20-0, so that was a big loss, but a great game. My other game against Mark was a 15-5, and I felt like, that's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Like 5 points out of this match, I feel good. And it even means that it means that you're always invested in the game, even till like the last turn.
Yeah.
I think, James, you played it this weekend. You talk to me. You tell me if you agree with that or you weren't thinking about it.
No, I think it's a hard. I think it's probably slightly harder because in the back of my head I also was kind of like, I'm here to like play about with points. So like when I wrote my list and I was like, could take a Gotrek. Don't think he's particularly fun to play against. Also, let's make my life harder. But like, so in the games I think like against Matt game 1. I basically had the decision. I was like, I've got a 340 point prime in the sky. He's left his general open. I know that he doesn't really have the damage to kill Andrashna. Keeping her alive and killing his general is my primary. So it's like, cool, 340 points. Prime's worth it. Let's play this game. Drop the prime. Force the charge in. Whomped his general. And then Andrashna just ran. But I think, like, at that point, like, for me, it was just funny. But tournament-wise, I basically removed her from him being able to kill her. Where, so, like, then I'm playing my own mini-game where I'm just like, oh, okay, so I know I'm going to lose. But if the rest of my team have done well, then actually I'm still scoring 4 points. And I'm also stopping this person I'm playing scoring 20 points.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like that was probably one of the most interesting things because it especially for teams, it gives you like a game in a game. Yeah, it does.
But it also, even in singles, because this is why I would use it for singles as well, it gives you a game in a game. Like Colaru, who was playing yesterday, he said the raw, unparalleled rush of dopamine you get from taking 1 point off your opponent out of spite, getting a 19-1 is glorious.
But you know what else is good there too that I really like is it gives you a reason, especially in a team setting, but even by yourself, it gives you a reason to play it out to the last turns and to want to play it out to the last turns. Because how fucking, like, when it's 20 zip, you can get to turn 3 and be like, sweet, we know where this is going. Shit, you can get to the bottom of turn 2 and be like, we know where this is going. Let's just, you win. Cool, good job. You would have gotten this. I would have gotten this. Cool, bye. And I don't have a problem with that. Absolutely. When that's done right, that's okay. But I really like because it's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to play it to the bitter end because I want to get through to the 5th round and deny you as much as is physically possible.
Yeah, like it's really fun. So Pa, who was also playing yesterday and is in the chat, he said, I loved this yesterday. I played great guy. I played a soft list, but I scored well and I enjoyed myself because I didn't because he was losing, but he was losing well. And I think that gives, especially because we don't talk about it loads, but there's a huge community of people who just go to have a laugh. And then when you go and you'll be the guy who's just a guy or girl, whoever, who's just going to have a laugh, then you Sorry, my heater's just having a breakdown. You don't care, right? I don't know what happened there.
The green screen behind Rob just bursts into flames.
See, Joe
Well,
PLC.
I also think
Go on.
like, because there's people that just go for fun, and I think it
Mm.
almost gives you like a game when you like, so game one, right? If you draw someone you know you're probably not going to beat, who's there to win? Like, I went to Bobo with that silly Bretonian list. Like, I think in this scoring method, there's just some hilarity where I'm like, cool, I'm not going to win these games, but I can just troll people. Be like, my general's not dying. I'm going to kill yours. I'm throwing 100% of my army at it, and then I'm legging it. And I'm going to make you play this stupid game of Warhammer where you have to do things you don't want to do. Like, but I'm forced. Like, it's funny because if that's your game one, like game 4, in theory, you shouldn't be playing that person. But game 1, there's always a chance. Game 2, there's always a chance. So I think like there's an enjoyable side to that for me.
Like, I'm all for kicking the fuck out. Like, get into a tournament and getting serious, right? Let's play. Let's try to win. I'm there.
Yep.
I'm in that mindset. You take the worst list. You do that. But at the same time, yeah, you lose a game. You tried your hardest. The other person beat you. They're just better than you. Whatever. Yeah, you still play that every game. Like, take the worst list ever is what I'm saying. Like, enjoy yourself and just go wild. But if you what I'm saying is if you don't want to, yeah, you should have some like emotional victory available to you, and not giving someone a 20-0 is great.
So so I have a real life experience that works here. Previously, when this wasn't a thing, so James Hobbs, who everyone probably knows now, me and him decided to get into Warhammer 8th together. Everyone that knows him well knows he's never painted a few skinks. His other half does it very kindly for him. And so years ago, we went to our first proper event of Age of Sigmar together, which was a double. So it was 1,000 points each. We didn't really know what we're doing, but I was like, oh, here's this cool Throne of Skulls event. Like, I've been to a couple of the narrative ones. They're really good fun. It's at Warhammer World. We'll just go. Brought the tickets, turned up on the day, got into the bar, queued in the queue, got to the table, and it was when John was still there doing it, and he was like, "Hi, how's it going? Seen you before. Where's your list?" I was like, "Oh, I haven't brought one. Never brought one before." He was like, "This is a GT. Where is your list?" So anyway, so James's first event and my first ever doubles was the GT. He looked up from game 1. We were really lucky. We played a guy who brought his girlfriend, who also didn't realize it was a GT. It was lovely. Hilariously, I had speed painted a Marathi for the event because I wanted to use her. So I had this really janky Daughters of Cain list that had no thought in it all, but was good fun. So we rock up. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but like, we might be okay. So game 2, we've smashed our first game, so we've gone high. Game 2, we get 2 Spanish chaps come from Spain who are playing a Tzeentch army when Tzeentch is at its worst with hundreds of Skyfires. And it all matches. So it's a doubles event. It all matches. I'm like, this is one army. Someone has split it in 2. And very quickly we realize who split it in 2, because before the game's properly started, the one guy's like, cool, to his mate, you sit down now. I'll win this game. So his mate, who's been dragged from Spain to England to play this game of Warhammer, basically goes to the bar, gets a pint, stands, has a pint, has a chat to random people that walk past. I don't think he touched a model. They spent 35 minutes deploying. It was James's first event. And I'm stood next to him. I'm like, we have lost this game. There is no way we're winning. So turn 1, James is Seraphon. There's Chaos Demons. So they're like, he's going to do extra damage to us. So they systematically stop his teleport and then systematically take first turn and start just like removing his army so he can't do damage. So I was like, wait, I'm going to read my rules again. So I start like reading Marathi's rule. I basically sat in a corner on the table, like the guy drinking a pint, and just kept reading Marathi's rules. So it takes them 2 turns to remove James's army. So I was like, cool, now it's our turn 3, I'm first. I walked Marathi backwards out of range, turned her into a snake, and said, It was the one where you have
Yeah.
to take both objectives to win. And
Mm.
I looked him in the eye and went, "So that's a minor victory to you. Good game." And put my hand out and gave him a Rathi's War Scroll card. Rewarding game of Warhammer I ever had, I think, because I was just like, we were literally like, we don't know what we're doing. You made your mate sit down, played by yourself, and I was having a terrible time. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I'll just ruin your day. And it was the only non-major victory they got all weekend, and they still won the event. And when they walked up, I was like, damn it, could have stopped that.
See,
Could have been.
this has given me so much inspiration because currently the naming's pretty boring, right? It's like the primary scoring bracket and the secondary scoring bracket. But I'm super okay to call this the spite scoring bracket. Like, I'm super okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because, like you're playing against the famous YouTuber, podcaster, tournament player, whatever, yeah? You're new. Or the gamer that everyone says is brilliant, whatever the situation, yeah? And you're looking at them, you're nervous. And then you just say to yourself, I just need to remember the spite system. I just need to get one fucking point, yeah? Because they want to go 5-0 at event, yeah? Hashtag spite system. Get it trending on Twitter, please. That's what I want.
Effectively, what it is the I'm going down and I'm taking you with me kind of thing. You know, like I'm drowning and I've just got this vice grip around your ankle and you're coming down as deep as I can get you.
Well, let's talk about what it does at the top end, because we've talked about what I think is the positive, what it does at the bottom end. What it does at the top end is slightly different, in my opinion. We don't need to look at this anymore, I don't think. So, what it does at the top end is it makes people have to play harder. What I mean by that is, if you get a face roll army that's able to just smash face, you have to play even better, right? So when you're 5-0, so there is a negative to this, and let's be upfront about it. If I, like, again, in the same situation, I play 5 games against 5 people who aren't maybe the best, maybe I get a huge points differential and I end up going 20-0. It's the same system as the strength of schedule system. Well, actually, it's the reverse of the strength of schedule system. In that setup, I would come bottom, whereas James, having played 5 difficult games, he wouldn't have a larger differential, right? He wouldn't have that larger differential, and therefore, even though he had tougher games and maybe he played even better, he still doesn't come higher than me, yeah, right. He still was in that same place, so that's one of those issues. But I think what it does is it forces the good gamer versus the good gamer to be the even better gamer. It brings everyone's skill level up. Yeah, you're like, okay, I need to, like, you play someone at your level, right? So whoever that might be, you're playing someone at your level, and you're like, okay, normally we play quite close. I need to beat them a lot more than I normally beat them by, in order to get that differential as high as possible. Now, there's probably... Zirak, this is going to be a blog post tomorrow on the Honest Wargamer, so I'll put this up tomorrow for you guys to all read. So you guys can read it, download it, use it in your events if you want to, or if not, leave me some comments, right? But, like, I think this is really, really beneficial, because you'll end up with, like... because if you use this for pairings... For example, thanks you to the Dimmer Matrix for subscribing. Massive love. If you use this for pairings, if you have a very close game round 1 against someone of an equal skill level, then you should play someone else who had an equal skill level. Whereas if you smash someone round 1, because you're better than them, let's say, or your army's better, and someone else smashes them, you should pair against each other, and then you should immediately play at the same level. Does that make sense? So it should even out quicker over the course. So you shouldn't necessarily play 5 people who aren't at your skill level. Instead, you should very quickly reach the people at your bracket who are bringing them down. It's not perfect. But the people at the top end don't have a perfect system anyway. So fuck them. Like, basically. And why not have 8... And maybe have 80% of the field have a fucking great time.
But it also... the amount...
Sorry, Dan, you broke up there. I don't know if I'm breaking up. Is everyone else still here? James...
No,
Dan broke up there, so we've lost him for a moment. Nathan, James, you got any thoughts?
No, I mean, like I say, no system is perfect, but to me, that one just sounds like a good way of scoring for those people that want to keep tabs. But also you've introduced a little bit of, well, James has introduced a bit of element of fun there with the spite thing. That's great. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
think
like that one a lot.
I think for me, just like being able to. So the worst thing, I think this is where we started, right? Someone said in the chat that the worst thing about a game of Warhammer is if you turn up for a game, someone deploys an army, and you're like, I've lost. Like, we all know that if I take Beast of Chaos and I play like a hugely honed Seraphon list, like,
Yeah.
I'm not winning that game. So, like, to start that way, after you've gone to event, brought a ticket, paid your money, etc., like, isn't particularly fun. Like, I don't think there's a way to agree that
I don't
it
think
would
so.
be fun for anyone. Like, no one likes to lose. However they say, like, I'm quite happy losing, but I don't like, it's not fun, if that makes sense. Like, I still want to play, I still want to have a game, and I still want to have a good time. So I think, like, the ability to still score is super, like, it gives you something to play for, rather than turning up a table, seeing someone and being like, I can't win this, playing a turn, losing half your army, and going, do you know what, sod it. Like, for me, like, just that Stormcast list, taking your Drasna, like, just being like, she doesn't really die. She's not really going to die to most things. So if I'm losing everywhere else, I can basically use her to just play my own game. How long does she survive 10 brutes fully buffed? How fast can she move across the board and take a back objective? If she pops this shot off, I can get my secondary. If she pops this shot off, I can get my primary. Like, I think it adds to the game, because if it's still 20-0, you're just playing to lose the same. If you're playing the other way around, where you can score a couple of points, be it for your team or for yourself, you're like, well, actually, I can go from being 57th to 38th maybe on this if I win 5 every game. So let's go for it.
I think it makes a big difference
huge
as well.
difference.
Let me read what everyone in the chat is saying. Ugan says spite is what the hobby needs. Couldn't agree with you more. Dr. Imp says, given the underdog is starting lead like 10 points, that would be so difficult for you to guess. James is right. Beast of Chaos versus Seraphon should just always be the underdogs, be them. But you'd be going to a comp system effectively, and that's a little bit more challenging. This just puts all the onus on the players. And then Velatron, I have no problem losing, but I do want to feel like I have a chance, however how small. I do not enjoy taking my toys off the table. No one does, but in the spite system, you at least get to do something a little bit more like engaging, I think. He also said the potential downside I would see from this is that tier 1 players maybe trash their opponents even harder, but that brings the skill level up. Like, it's nothing worse than being, like, toyed with, right? Like, let's be real. If you go to an event, someone should be, like, trying to kick your ass, and you should be trying to get theirs. It promotes better play. It also promotes you as maybe the underdog in that situation to try and get you're playing harder. You're focusing. Old man Tim, if you're going to get trashed, then you can concede and give up 20 points, and that isn't much fun, different than what is going to happen anyway, says Old man Tim, which I agree massively. So then why not try and use the spite system and get yourself 2 points? Yeah, 2 points is all I'm going to say.
Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah, worth it. Worth
it.
Like, because you see the guys in the top bracket and the guy in first place and the guy in third place, and you're like, that's me. I made him get third. That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like, there's almost that thing, isn't there? Like, we play that game and we were like, oh, this guy has literally just come to nuke us off a table, and he doesn't care. Like, because when we started, we were like, oh, we've not really played much, and he was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna beat you now. It's like, cool, thanks. And so, like, when I got to stop him beating us mega hard, I was like, oh, like, that was funny, because he came and was like, you're fucking losers, I'm gonna win this, and just procedurally removed us. And I was like, I have this model, you haven't read its rules, here she is big, have a nice day. And that was the end of the game. And it didn't end how he wanted. And I think, like, if you're playing someone and you're having a great time, like, I've played plenty of games over the years where I've turned up to an event and been like, oh, my army's not hugely like, I took those Britannians, never was it competitive. I played 80 Mac, he probably could have tabled me in a turn. Instead, we just had, like, this ages of laughing about it. Like, it was great fun. But I think, like, the amount of people that will have that laugh with you is smaller. And so there's a fun element to being able to still play a game.
I think, and we should all
me.
be encouraging people to have fun, right? Like why at an event?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, yeah. So that would promote that more sort of fun thing, maybe, you reckon?
I think so.
Like in that game that you had with AD.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I just think like it gives you something to like. You always want something to play for. Like for me, like I'm always like, oh, I want something to do. I want to be able to play. And I also think like in a weird way, which probably hasn't been discussed, like it gives a level of strategy to a game. Like I think there's quite often, I know I've talked about it before, and again, no offense to them, it's not how I would play, but if it's how they want to play, that's cool. Like there's lots of people that will math hammer out a list and they're like, cool, I've wrote this list. It removes my opponent's army turn 1, like, or 50% of it. And that's how I win the game. Like, I think the ability for you to be like, cool, you remove half my army turn 1, but then I like use the last half of my army to destroy your general. And then I score my primary. So yes, you remove my army turn 1, but if I can then just like dance around enough for long enough, actually we're 19-1. And that 1 point means not a huge amount to your score, but it might affect their score enough that you're like, hey, I did something, like I achieved something.
I think rewarding people for just not losing is amazing. Ebert, thank you so much for resubscribing. If people take the spite list, which bombs the schedule, no one's going to take spite lists mid-velm. There's no argument for spite lists. It's like maybe we should immediately change this and not talk about it as that set system, because it's meant to encourage good play. It develops good play. And also, if you're running fucking 9 Storm Fiends and Beasts of Chaos take a point off you, it's your fucking fault. Like, be better. Like, you're running the best. Like, don't always run from very good meta army to very good meta army all the time, yeah, and then complain when some fucking chud with like some Chaos Dwarves takes 2 points off you. It's fucking hilarious. Like, I didn't win a tournament because I was unable to take a 20-0 off a Chaos Dwarf player with my Marathi Bow Snakes. Well, then fucking get better, because that's what you would tell. You would say to the Chaos Dwarf player, you didn't win, maybe you should get better. Like, it puts the onus on the good player. That's who has the work to do.
Yeah.
What I like there as well is that it means, as let's say you're a Beast of Chaos player, you rock out of that weekend and your wins, you're like, I got 7 points. And like and the thing is, you know exactly what that means. That means that Beast of Chaos player fucked over the plans of a bunch of armies that should have absolutely wrecked him. And I love that. Like, just that being like, you rock up, everyone's sitting down, you're having your Saturday afternoon beers and like everyone's having a drink, and someone's like, oh yeah, mate, I what are you on? I'm on 2 wins and a draw. I'm on 3 wins. I'm on blah blah. Beast of Chaos, 12 points. And everyone's like, fuck no. Who? Like they'd be like, that guy right over there. There's this just dude crying into his fucking Bloody Mary.
Lost.
Like,
I got 5 points off. I got 5 points off that
Archeon
Zinch list. I'm a fucking golden god. Yeah, scout points is another one.
Yeah, exactly.
like who did you play? Well, I played like Darren Watson, Benjamin Sava, and guess what? 3 points in my back pocket. Yeah, it's not 40 points, which was your potential points, but it was 3, and you feel like a golden god. Yeah, like you're walking away with 1 point. Maybe you get it as a medal. Each one, there's a little medal on your chest that you wear to the next event.
That is where I'd be really interested in the strength of schedule. I want to see the person who took the most points off the strongest armies with arguably the weakest. You know, like I want to be like, okay, cool. What is it? We got 4 Beast of Chaos players. Fuck yeah. We're having an award for which one of them can strip points off the best armies that show up.
Well, I'm glad you guys are excited about it as well, because I think it's far more engaging. Like, that's what I think it is. And it's not my system. It's just a system that exists out there in the world. But because of how the scoring system is set up inside Age of Sigmar, I think you encourage, especially for larger events, you make something that's more interesting and exciting for everyone around the world. And I would argue that, like, I haven't seen anyone suggest anything better yet, in my opinion. And we've run 3-4 events off the back of this now. which I think is really, really exciting. But I would obviously like to hear everyone's thoughts. I obviously don't think I know everything, so I'd like input and feedback from everyone. I know there are some events that are using this system already or plan to use this system already, which I'm quite excited about because I've been in contact with them, and then we'll get more feedback as time goes on. So yeah, that's it for today. I'm just going to call it. We answered no questions. Dan answered one question about gyrocopters. We nailed it.
I think the only thing we should probably clarify is we're not on about it being about writing a list that's purposefully ruins people's weekends. We're on about if you play a game against someone and you're like, I am really struggling, or you're getting battered, or your dice rolls have been terrible, there's still something for you to achieve.
Yeah, gives you something to play for, and it's a way of trying to pick some fun out of a game which looks like it's going one way. You can,
when you get to turn 3, and normally you would just start counting up points and packing up your war dollies, you've got a reason to play it out to 5.
100%. All right, wait. I'm super glad. I'm glad you're all on board with it. This is fun. This is super cool. I like that. It's really exciting when there's, because I think it's great. I think it's so fun. Like and I think Age of Sigmar 3 is so fun. All I want to do is play more games, and I love the idea of pairing into the worst thing possible, which is what I did to myself all weekend, and grabbing points off someone. It's great fun. Also, the pressure on them is hilarious. Yeah, you're like, hey, I've lost, but you need these 2 points. It's way more fun on turn 5. It flips it. It flips the conversation we've had in tournament wargaming for a very long time. You're there on turn 5 just trying your hardest not to lose the last model or whatever the situation. Yeah, it flips it. It puts it on the other person. Yeah. The other person who's doing well still has the pressure. They've got to keep their foot down. You can't fuck up. So anyway, big love to you all. You're all amazing people. Dan, Nathan, and James. You guys got any shout-outs you want to do today? Oh, Guys Id's got a question, though, so I'll answer that first. What is it? Pete Pratt, thanks for donating £20 to the show. Thanks, Pete. That's fucking great of you. You didn't need to do that. That's fucking lush. That's lush. That's because me and Pete are going to be running this. Even if one little venue in Nottingham, one little venue in Northern Ireland, we're going to be fucking doing this. So if you want to go play Warhammer somewhere fun, not with all those other fucks, yeah, then come and see us.
You need to answer Guys Id's question because it's the most
what type
important
of
one of the
family
show.
units could you take in a family core battalion? Family.
Only units that are fast.
No, okay. There's a really there is actually a specific answer to this. You can only take units that would drink beer at a backyard barbecue somewhere in a sunset while all inexplicably wearing tank tops and ripped jeans.
Many singlets.
Yeah.
But also weirdly tight jeans. So, like it's hot, so I'm wearing a singlet, but jeans also. Yeah. Fast and Furious. That's it.
That's right. Old man Tim, you can only drink Corona. You can only drink Corona beers because that's all they ever fucking drink. I love that they've got all this money and they drink so much. They just have a keg put in back there, guys.
Question: when Tree Revenants redeploy, can they teleport? Oh, I guess that's the same question as because it's a normal move, right? I would probably FAQ the same way that you would do the boats in the Alpha Beast pack. So because they can move D6 and you can do a redeploy Owen, counts as a normal move, and you could do a Sky High. So I would FAQ it and say no, personally. I think it would be cool. I like the idea of it, but I think I'd FAQ it as no. That's what I'd say, but like that would be me.
Yeah, probably because it says a move of D6, so it does specify. So I think you could probably argue no.
Nathan, do you got any shout outs before you go? Yeah. Oh, wait, there are questions. Universal Spell Law and Archeon, can he take them? No, he can't take flaming weapons as of the moment, is what I'd say. Thanks for clarifying, family. Nagashi is better in Soulblight Gravelords or OBR. I think Soulblight Gravelords way better with a Vengori Lord. Nathan, Dan... Okay.
Soulblight
Gravelords.
Good.
Fucking firing these out. Fucking hit them up. We should do a Q&A at the end of everyone. What's next? Strikes last and smashing and bashing. How's that work now? Fuck, Nathan.
Question hard. Nathan, go.
I would say smashing and bashing because it gets activated last. I mean, it's the last thing to be activated, so it takes priority of the previously thing. So a strike's last would be somebody's put a spell on you, or they've stomped the ground or something. But then the smashing and bashing gets triggered, and then that overwhelms the whatever conditions were put on before.
The only way that it would work is if it was your opponent's turn and them attacking you somehow triggered the strikes last on a different unit, because then you've got two effects triggered simultaneously and it's your turn, so you can choose the order that they're applied. But any other, I don't think there's any rule in the game that
hey,
does
big
that.
shout out to Joe Crowder in the chat. Real Polygeek, if I eat my opponent's model, if I eat it, does it count as a victory point? No, it does not. It counts as a hero point, though. Reddit, but don't obviously do that.
It counts as a stomach point. There's lots of sharp shit on that. Dan the Great Gamer Khan, Noblar spam? Yes.
Always.
Just always yes.
Yes.
Spam as always yes, Noblar spam. Especially now, hey,
Stand and shoot.
Rhinoxes now have an attack value of 2 for their tusks, which is fucking great because they've got 2 tusks. Like they have a little, have a look at the model. They've got a multi-tusk that for some fucking reason only got 1 attack. Like it would run up to you and just only shunt you with one side and be like, oh no, this is the good China. I keep that for when special people come around. So thank God they've actually
I don't want to do a show where we go
1,
through every single war
2.
scroll and we count number of attacks versus like arms or weapons or whatever the fuck, Dan. But I don't think this plan is going to hold water long, is what I'm going to say. Yeah, like I get where you're at, but like 2 tusks, 2 attacks.
I'm just saying, Rhino.
A horse has got 4 legs, but they only attack with 2.
Yeah, they either turn around and they kick you with the back feet, or they like give you a little clip clop on the head with the front. That's not like they do a fucking Superman ultimate punch and all 4 hooves come at you at the same
Agreed.
time.
So that's what they should do.
That's how they should train their horses. They run up, jump sideways, and just fucking cannonball
Question,
kick you
Nathan
with 4
Prescott,
hooves.
how do you feel about the 40k orc previews?
Oh, I've not seen them.
Okay.
I feel like they were probably
lush.
very nice. I didn't watch the videos. I've seen a picture of a white squig.
Perfect.
That looks cool.
That's perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
Dan the Great Game Car says, "Lol can confirm horses only kick with 2 limbs. My dad got kicked in real life. I'm so sorry." The horse was probably just joking. He's probably just horsing around. Dan, Nathan, James, thanks for joining me today. You've all been wonderful. Thanks for listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube. You guys got any shout outs before we go? James, throw me one.
Big shout out to the 3 people I played at the weekend, and to Gian, who cried every time I rolled a 5 on my Redeemer thing and
Nathan,
brought some models
shout
back.
outs.
I'll shout out to whoever played on Friday. He was a bit of a dick, but it was good. And I'm playing. I should hopefully be playing a game this week. So shout out to my opponent if that goes ahead.
Okay, good.
We'll find
and
out.
Dan, your shout out.
I'm gonna shout out Chicken Palm. Just really glad you exist. You bring so much joy to my life, and without you, I don't know who I'd be or where I'd be. So Chicken Palm, just really appreciate everything that you do.
Palm, it's really good, but probably vegetarian chicken palm, even better for the chuk-chuks, who are all my friends. Then all of them, all 200 billion or however many fucking chuk-chuks live in the world.
Feed me the birds.
I'm going to shout out the captain of Team Meg's fellas. Yesterday, Meg won her first Age of Sigmar game yesterday. Fucking rad to see someone like just take a kick in for round after round and then finally get ahead in the game and crush her granddad underneath her hoof. So it was good to see that. So big love to you. Thanks to you 3. You 3 are wonderful people, and I love doing this with you and shooting the shit. Twitch chat, you're phenomenal. Everyone look after yourselves. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to Honest Wargamer. We'll be back next week. See you soon.